Let me know when you guys can see me. Let me know when you're in the room. Hope everyone's doing well today. Let me know when you guys can see me. Peace, peace. I see one person on. Share it too if you don't mind. Share it to Facebook or something. I'm doing a podcast and a radio interview today. It won't be video, and I like to kind of share content with you guys. So what I'm going to do is let you guys watch it live. So I'll be video for you guys, but it'll just be audio for the people listening to that networks or that podcast or radio stations content. Okay, so I wanted to be able to give you guys the actual video and the audio. So you guys will be getting it live. All right. I hope everyone is well. Hope everyone is well. Comment, guys. Let me know what's on your mind. Come on now. Talk to me. Talk to a brother. Yeah, go ahead and like the video if you don't mind. Talk to a brother. I know. There you go, Mr. Evans. What's up? I know this is short notice, guys, but I did not know that this was going to be an audio call until just now, really. So I said, you know what? I'll go live and let you guys be able to watch the content, have access to the content. I thought it would be just, video on his platforms, and I didn't want to take from his platforms by doing that over here. So, but nevertheless, it's this is his platform as far as the audio goes. So it's just going to be, like I said, the audio version of it. So it'll kick off here in 2 minutes. So you should be calling me or sending me the link to get started in 2 minutes, and we'll have a good conversation, guys. Hope you guys have been all right. How y'all been? Peace, peace. What's up, Patrick? I see you. How have you guys been? Find it interesting that 9 of you guys are on watching now. We know normally it's more than that, but it's short notice. But I've been seeing that number 9 a lot lately. No matter if I'm looking at a clock or whatever, it's just when I add the numbers up, it always comes back to 9. So it's really, really crazy. Y'all been seeing any numbers lately? Any numbers jumping out at you, speaking to you? Or are y'all into that? Do y'all do that? Okay, Mr. Boring Single Dad, I sure will. I don't mind that at all. I'll check you out. So guys, just hang tight with me as we wait. But like I said, I hope you all have been well. There's a few of you on. Let me know how y'all doing. Let us know how you're doing, man. Come on now. Okay, Mr. Boring Single Dad, I got you. I definitely will. No problem. So the video, the podcast today is just about just my story a little bit, my life, things I've gone through. How did I become the person that I am today? From the person that I was, 3 or 4 years ago. They want to know about my transformation, kind of the thought that went into it, different experiences that I may have had that shaped who I am now today. And we're going to go into that. Thank you for asking, Universally Gifted. And of course, they want to know a little bit about my poly lifestyle, things like that, but mainly just my story, which is always fun for me. I love to talk about that. I love to talk about my evolution. I love to talk about how I've evolved because it is thought provoking. We all go through things in life where, we kind of have to take from the experiences that we go through and then build ourselves from those experiences. So like each experience we go through gives us like another puzzle piece, or we earn another puzzle piece. And that goes into who we are. Whatever you learn from it, whether that be a failure or a success, something that brought joy or something that brought about a heartbreak. We learn from different things that we go through, and they kind of make up the sum of who we are, right? Like numbers, it kind of adds to our total, right? Our sum total, if that makes sense, right? And the thing is, if you're not a conscious being and you don't put a lot of thought into things, you won't level up like someone else would, who would look at the experience they went through, learn from it, take responsibility for their actions in that experience. You can grow exponentially from that. But if you're not willing to do those things, it just becomes trauma. It just becomes, hey, this happened to me, and now I'm going to project that onto everyone else. You know what I mean? This happened to me, so now I can't trust people anymore. This happened to me, so now I don't help people anymore. I've been burned before. You know how we do that. And it's kind of like being in a really bad car accident. If you have trauma from it, when things begin to happen that remind you of that past car accident, you tense up, you get afraid, you get nervous, 1 second, guys. Rise. How are you?
How you doing?
Fantastic. Are you ready? Is it gonna be just like this, or would it be a link?
Yeah, it's gonna be like this. The link that I'm gonna send you is for other people to tune in if they want to tune in.
No problem.
You somewhere quiet?
Oh yeah. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Okay, cool. Give me 1 second. Quick question. Will your significant other be willing to go live also to just give their perspective on, how they feel or how they got into the relationship that they're in now? Because, like I said, on this episode, I want to focus solely on you.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people are going to have questions for them also. And I don't want it to bombard, each other, trying to see where you stand and where they stand. So I would like to have a separate episode where they can explain themselves and clear people's mindset about how they got up in the situation or how they feel about it.
Yeah, second episode definitely works. They're not with me now. They went to take my daughter and my granddaughter to a doctor's appointment.
Okay, so if you can relay that to them, and if they're up for it, we
Sure.
can set that up whenever they're free.
No problem.
And we'll get that on the road.
That sounds good.
All right. I'll count down in 3 seconds, and then we'll get started.
Sounds good to me.
Let's go. 2, 3, 1. Welcome back to another episode. It's your boy Adam, and I'll be Rick Ross's dress. This is very interesting and I can say relatable episode to a lot of you guys, because a lot of us feel this way, but we don't express it because of the people that we're with, or it can be because how we might assume that people will feel about what we say or do. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to bring somebody on that can give their perspective on that side of the world. And maybe it will change you, maybe it won't. We're not here to persuade anybody to do anything they wouldn't do otherwise. But just to hear both sides, and then you can continue living how you're living, or you can make a change. It's up to you. But I'm on live with Kevin Wesley. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. We're going to get deep into his story, how he came to where he at now. And then any questions or anything like that, we can get to it, and I'll make sure he try to answer it the best way he can. Now, Kevin, can you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Kevin Wesley. For those who are not familiar with me, I used to be a pastor. Now I'm a life coach. I am a motivational speaker. I'm an author. I try to use my own philosophy that I've, developed over many years to enlighten people, help people through things, to help us all evolve and become better people.
Okay. A lot of things that people don't understand is there's multiple ways to live, right? But we get complicit, and a lot of people are conformed to a certain way of living, which is the expected way of living, to say that you're supposed to have one woman or one wife, and you're supposed to live this narrow way of life,
Mm-hmm.
But when they see, things out of the norm, they get confused, or they get crazy or wild, and they start giving their opinion without getting to know that person or that person's way of living, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm glad that you said you was a pastor before, because that'll also let people know that, hey, Jesus or our Lord, by what we seen or what we were told, that he had one woman and he was able to live through whatever he lived through. So now that you've been on both sides, you're able to give people a different perspective, or both perspective, on how to live, right?
Absolutely.
But on this show, we like to dig down, right? We like to start from childhood, from how your mind was built to
Mm-hmm.
where you are now, and then just give people the rundown to how you got into where you're at now. So we're not just going to jump into, what they want to know. I know what they want to know. We're going to give them the beginning of it. That way they can understand why you're at where you're at now. So how did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in a home with my grandmother. There was 15 children. I had one grandmother, of course. My other grandparents had already passed on before I was born, so I actually never met them. My father wasn't there, and my mother died when I was 3 years old. She was 33 years old. So from there, my life kind of just went wild, man. I'm moving around with my grandmother, and my grandmother had a few children, and it seemed that none of those children were, except for one. So out of my grandmother's children, one of them raised their child. The rest of them lived with my grandmother. It's kind of funny, but I could see the generational curses early, even though I didn't understand what they meant at the time. My grandmother refers to her mother as a first name, but refers to her grandmother as mother because her grandmother raised her. So my grandmother's children referred to my grandmother as a first name, and we referred to our grandmother as mother, so it kind of went the same way. My grandmother didn't raise her children either. Her grandmother raised them, so I grew up in a house with a lot of children who were always trying to, of course, be noticed and get affirmation from my grandmother. She wasn't really the type. She did love us, though. She raised us, and she was very hard on us, and she was very religious. But she was also very superstitious. I often say that she was probably more superstitious than religious, which made being raised by her really confusing, but she was very strict that she was raised a certain way. Things were going to be her way. You were absolutely going to go to church. You were going to go to Bible study. You were going to go to Sunday school. I don't know if you guys have had Sunday school, but that's 1 week out of the summer or 2 weeks out of the summer where you go to the local church and you get taught all these different things and, stories and things like that in church. So we always had to do all this stuff. And, so my childhood was just consumed with superstition and religion.
So from what I'm getting from that is you didn't have a regular childhood as people would say. You said your father, wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
So you was raised by your grandparents and not your mother. So that differs from a lot of people, right? Because
absolutely,
some people are either raised by either a mom or a dad,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yes, sir.
Or they're raised by step parents. So you being the fact that you you was raised by your grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
it ain't really show you the fact that you need a mom and a dad in your life to be able to grow up, to be the man that you want to be.
Absolutely.
Okay. One question that I got a lot from a lot of people is, where are you from? When I say that, it's not where you was born. You can also let us know that, but ancestors-wise, your parents, where are they from?
Wow. I actually don't have that information on my heritage, as far as where my grandparents or my ancestors are from. And believe me, I get asked that question a lot too. I thought about going into all that and, and getting the test done to see, but a part of me is kind of like, I've seen so many different reviews where, they just tell you whatever, and it's not the case. And so I think a lot of that doubt and stuff is what kept me from that. But actually, I do not know where my ancestry would be from.
Okay, the reason why I asked that is, people been saying that you're African. Some people been saying that you're American, and they just don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why they're leaning more towards African is because if you know, back home, we are allowed, or our people are allowed to have multiple women, right? We're allowed to wed 1, 2, 3, 4, as much as we want,
Mm-hmm.
if we can show that we're able to take care of these women and our kids and give them the life they deserve. So them living the way that you're living, that's what leads to them saying things like that. So that's why I asked that question.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. My outlook on life, the way I carry myself, or the way I speak, all of these things tend to make people believe that I'm foreign, or I wasn't raised in this programming or in this matrix. But it just took a lot of work to unlearn how I was raised in this matrix, to unlearn how we think, how we've been programmed somewhat, to think and feel about our surroundings. So I started to challenge myself in many different ways at an early age. I've always been a thinker, but I grew up in America, and I began to challenge my beliefs after that.
So you said you grew up in America.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
Well, because people always ask me, am I from Africa? Do I live in Africa now? Things like that. No, I've always been in America. That is where I grew up.
Okay. So you're an American, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
By nationality, of course.
By what?
By nationality, of course. Which.
By nationality.
Right, and not to go off on a tangent, but nationality has only been a thing for about 200 years. I think even less than that. So it's a way that we can practice tribalism without actually technically being from the same tribe or kin. So right. You can say you can claim a land or a land mass and have that same type of tribalism, but it really means nothing. I feel like when you identify with something like American, it takes away from you your identity, because now if you speak honestly about your surroundings,
live a certain way.
Right, absolutely, or think a certain way. So if I say something that's outside of how I should think as an American, then I've now said something that's un-American, and we condemn each other for these types of things, and, so absolutely.
Okay, we got that out the way, and I hope they understand that.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up, right, you in this household, your grandparents is raising you, you're going through school. Did you ever come to that point where you was dating one person that you felt like you only needed one person in your life?
Actually, I'll say that when I first started off in school dating, honestly, man, I've always been I've always tried to do the thing that I was taught to do. Find one girl like one girl. Ironically, though,
Let me stop you there. Not to interrupt you. You said thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that comes down to the root of what I was saying in the beginning, that depending on how you was raised or the family that you grew up in, they instill something in your mind to say, hey, this is the way life is supposed to be, and this is how a man is supposed to live, right?
Absolutely.
So that was very important that you said taught, because that's what you saw. That's what they told you how you were supposed to be, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so continue.
So I'm out and I'm trying to, date. And of course, you're writing love letters, you're courting, you're doing these things. But while I was seeking one partner, because that's how I was raised to think, this being a young-minded, ironically, the females I was trying to date, they couldn't make their mind up. They were always torn between me and some other guy, and they seemed to like us both, like literally like us both. And as a child, of course, I didn't understand this. I thought it was naturally impossible, but as I began to grow up, I realized that this is very possible. You can most definitely love more than one person, but of course, our social dynamics, the way we're raised in America, is to believe to have one wife and one husband, and he who finds a wife finds a good thing. And then, of course, where you have religious literature that seems to back poly lifestyles, with having Saul and David and all these kings have several wives, Solomon. But then you have Paul come in and say a man should have one wife. And when you're raised in this typical Christianity religion, they adopt anything that's New Testament and ignore the old. So they say, well, that's an old thing. You're supposed to like one wife. And what happens is they tell you that your thoughts you're even held accountable to your thoughts. So if you're even thinking about having multiple partners, then that's a sin. So we're always raised to try to set our mind right back into how we were trained to think. We're very afraid to think outside of the box that they put us in,
Okay, so bring you back to today, right? You being a previous pastor, what would you advise people to read into? Because you said something about the New Testament and the Old Testament. Should they continue to read both and make a decision from that, or would you advise either or?
I would not advise to read literature, period, and take it literal, so to speak. I would say you can find understanding. Your brain can be provoked by reading all types of literature, including religious literature. But I wouldn't, set myself under man-made literature that claims that, a God or whatever has inspired it. That was my thinking as a Christian, because as a Christian, I thought the Bible was the word of God and the only words of God, and everyone else had to learn these words and get in line with it, or of course they were condemned. As I got older, I realized that there were more than one books of literature, religious books, and many different religions, and many people who believe in their religions, just like I did. So I can say that I became sort of the person that I am now by reading many different forms of religious literature. So I understand a lot of different religions. I've studied many religions, and it's helped to broaden my views instead of just reading one book thinking that, this is all the answers. You know what I mean? Without challenging it all to any other book.
My thing is, I feel the same way. I believe that there is a higher being, or there's people or someone up there who's watching us, right? And I don't like to get in debate with people about their faith, because it gets very personal.
Absolutely.
With them.
Absolutely.
And you saying that you used to be a pastor, but now you're saying, hey, don't just focus on this one thing. Open your mind and read these other things and try to get a focus on what you want to be. It excites me, right? So are you, let's say, you're saying that you're not just a Christian?
Right. I don't identify with religion at all. I'm very spiritual, though. So when I read spiritual literature or religious literature, I look at it as if it's, allegories or just thoughts that people back in the day or ancient minds have put together. And some of it is extremely intriguing. Some of it is extremely enlightening. But some of it, though, is very chaotic and archaic. So like when you have things like stoning women for being virgins and slavery, approval of slavery, things like that in the Bible, or things like that in the Quran, or in all of these books, they seem to have the misconceptions of man also. So you have, literature that comes from people who thought very high or vibrated really high, if you want to say, and then you have thoughts that come from people who vibrate really low, so there'll be things that you completely agree with in these texts, but there'll also be things that you completely disagree with. You'll read it and say, there's no way God thinks like that. But then in another statement may have something that you think is beautiful, so.
Okay, let's give the people a little bit of excitement, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So you're in school, you're dating, you find out, okay, maybe she likes me, but she also likes this other guy.
Mm-hmm.
How many females, because don't get me wrong, you post these pictures
Mm-hmm.
every once in a while, and they're pretty boy pictures. And when I say that is, there's filters. We see the glow on the skin. You got these outfits on, the hat, the shoes. You looking the best that you can look for your audience, right? So they're pretty boy pictures. That's what they call it. When somebody posts something where they want to look a certain way to reach a certain audience. So have you always looked like that?
I look like my mom, so I've always been called a pretty boy, no matter what, on photos, in person, on video. I've always been the guy who women say, "You too fine, take your hat off." It's like they're looking for something wrong, you know. When I grew up, pretty boy was a derogatory term. I hated it.
Exactly.
It meant you couldn't fight and you didn't play sports. I can do both very well. So it would be like somebody called me, if a guy said you're a pretty boy, I'd be like, well, then, you know, fight me then. Of course, I'm young and immature at the time. I don't think like that anymore. But, you know, I take my photos. I believe that we should use everything that we were gifted with at our disposal to monetize ourselves. So I know I fit the standard for what we call good looking. Okay. I don't believe in it at all, but I know that I fit in the standard because, and I say I don't believe in it because you can go to another culture and I wouldn't be deemed good looking at all. You know, they would find something like a bowl in the lip or a piercing or a scar to be more attractive than physical features. You know, so we look at physical aesthetics in America, and I know that I fit the part. So I'm a brand ambassador and I'm a model. I do these types of things because I'm monetizing myself to be able to feed and finance my family. You know, but
at the end of the day,
absolutely, and you have to. And we've been so against that our whole lives, like, you know, telling each other not to do these type of things. But I say take advantage of every gift that you were given and let that monetize yourself. You know, we have people who depend on us, and if we say I'm going to deny that, then what's next? Then go work for someone else and make their dream come true.
That's so true, and a lot of people don't understand that at the end of the day, people are going to use you for what they want. Now, are you able to get what you want to get out of them in the process of them using you, right?
Right.
And that's all that it comes down to. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna get this guy. You just acknowledge that you're a pretty boy, but you're willing to defend yourself when it comes to it. So you found out that girls like multiple dudes. You know, it don't matter if they're in love with you; they're also capable of falling in love with somebody else. And at what point did you decide? Maybe since she's willing to do, you know, have me and somebody else, maybe I can do that too.
Repeat that question for me.
What point did you realize that if a woman is able to love me and somebody else, that I'm able to do the same thing?
I actually came to that, I guess, that acceptance recently, man. My whole life, so of course, being raised by my grandmother, she raised me a certain way. Being raised in the church, I was a certain way, you know. I say it actually made me more cooped up, more enclosed. It put a shell around me when it comes to like sexual things, sexual activities. You know, I don't really explore myself sexually like that without feeling kind of guilty because of church and the stipulations that they put on you. So I've always looked at it like have one woman, you know what I mean? So it took me having to understand that, you know, there are cultures that practice it differently, and it helped me to understand more so how I thought. I've always I've always liked more than one person, or it's been easy for me to do that. I've been married for many years, but when I separated, and I was faithful and loyal during that marriage, but when I separated, I dated, so I courted. And my thing was, and to no offense, I would say I date like the white people. What that meant was what I see on TV and on sitcoms and stuff, you know, white people, they go out on dates, you know, they'll be on a date with someone else tomorrow. When I grew up, you just go with whoever you go on a date with. You know what I mean? Like people have ownership over you. They try to, at least. If I exchange numbers with you, then somehow they believe that, you know, you're theirs now. And so I fell into that crap. You know, someone has sex with you, of course they think that you belong to them now, you know. So I thought like that. But this time here, I said, because I went into a relationship so early, getting married at 19 or 20, I said, before I do that again, I'm going to make sure that I know a person. I'm going to make sure that, you know, that I really care about a person. And so I dated, a lot of women, and I actually cared about and liked them all. I felt like I was a good judge of person. I didn't have any people around me who I felt like were horrible, but I would get along with these women. We'd have amazing times together. We go on, like, say certain vacations, maybe spend a weekend together or just a date. And my motto was, just love me like there's no tomorrow. Let's just make the best of our time. And if tomorrow comes, we'll repeat. I didn't want to get into any type of commitments because I'd already been in a relationship for so long. But I did begin to develop feelings for multiple people.
Would you say they wanted you for you, the woman that you was dating in that time frame, or they wanted you because you was a pretty boy?
I believe that it's probably on both sides, though. You know, I'm not shallow, but I also like pretty women. So I do want to be attracted to the woman that I'm dating. You know what I mean? So in all actuality, man, I've never lived a pretty boy life, even though I've always been called a pretty boy. Well, I don't want to say always. In high school, it was a little bit different. I was very poor, and children seem to judge you by what you can afford. So I got picked on actually in high school. I still got called pretty boy, but or I still got called pretty boy, but there was no girls who were trying to talk to me because my clothing was from, like, you know, just, you know, it wasn't branded. You know what I mean? So
to the standard or what was going on at that time.
Right, absolutely. And so now I'll tell you like this. At 30 years old, 32 years old, something like that, I separate from my wife, and I began to date. Now, here I am, 30 something years old, and I've never had a one night stand. I've never had a woman throw themselves at me. And at this time, I'm actually wanting this. So while women may say they find me attractive, when they're in my presence, they get nervous. They don't actually throw themselves at me. And so that made me feel like I wasn't so attractive. They were actually more attracted to my mind. And they would tell me that. They would say, you know, when I saw you, I thought that you were good looking, but it was the things you were saying. It was your mind that I fell in love with. So I've actually never had the type of experience where women come up to me and be like, it's just because of how you look. It's always been so much more. In fact, I've still never had a one night stand. Women who have went out with me and even stayed the night with me, we just end up sleeping beside each other. And the next day they may voice that they wanted to do something like that, but they were nervous as to how I would feel about them the next day. And they would say it was because I carried myself in such a good way, more of what they would call husband material. So a guy who was, you know, real flirty and acted like a pretty boy, they would be quicker to have sex with him versus me because they were more concerned if I would like them tomorrow, you know what I mean? Or not think less of them. You know what I mean? So
let me say this. A lot of people like to categorize women in a general sense, but one thing that I always notice is that when a woman feel like she wants you to be there for the long term, she's gonna treat you different, right?
Absolutely.
And the ones that do sleep with you that first night when they meet you, and I'll say maybe 80 or 90% of the time, they're not going to spend the rest of their life with you because they see you as that person that they can just sleep with and they can go on to the next. Now, if they're willing to hold back and say, okay, let me get to know this person and figure out if they like me for who I am, you have a better chance of keeping that woman. And exactly what you just said is true. And people don't see that. They're like, oh, well, she slept with me. She must be this and this and that. No, it's the way you presented yourself.
Absolutely.
That's why she slept with you that first night. So it's not more so on her, it's you. How did you present yourself to her to let her to believe that she can sleep with you that one night and that's it?
Right.
And a lot of dudes will be like, oh, it's because I look good or it's because this and this and that. Well, yeah, but are you also considering the fact that she sees you not being a husband potential, and
right.
and you know they don't look at it from that side. So
Right.
you decided, okay, I'm gonna start dating. You said what, 30 years old, 32?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, so when did you meet your first woman or wife? Because the reason why I say that is in a lot of states you're not allowed to marry two people.
Right.
In certain states you do. So I don't know if the state that you're in allows that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how to identify, either or.
Right.
When did you meet your first significant other?
Okay, so I actually Jamie, she is who I was married to for all those.
Which one is Jamie?
Jamie is the one with that Lacey has locks and Jamie doesn't.
One of them is lighter and one of them is dark skin.
Well, they're both light in color, but I'm saying one of them has locks and the other one doesn't. Jamie does not have locks. She has a little bit of dye in her hair.
Okay, just so people can, so they'll be able to identify.
No problem. And Lacey's the shorter one. But
okay.
Yeah, so Jamie is who I was married to for all those years. Actually, she's always treated me amazing. The same with me and her. I didn't leave her because she did anything wrong. I left her because I was just unhappy. I wanted to experience love. We had a child.
You left her.
I'm sorry.
You said you left her.
Yeah, I separated from her when I was around 32. She's who I'm talking about when I was married for so many years.
Oh, so okay. I didn't know. I thought it was somebody else that you was dating and you. Okay, so Jamie is the one you left. Yeah.
So we had a child when I was 17, 18. Okay, and
is that the boy, the light skinned boy with the? I think he has dreads too, right?
That's my youngest son. But my daughter's 19, so she's the oldest.
Okay, I was going through your page. I don't think I've seen her.
Oh, okay, yeah, she's adorable, man. Her name's Janae, but we had her when I was 18, and my father wasn't there for me, so of course my mindset is I want to be there for my daughter. Her mother, Jamie's mother, was a preacher, and she just did not believe in having babies outside of wedlock, and that's what had happened already. I wanted to love my child and be there, but I think she was more angry with me than anything because she just would put up so many barriers when it came to me seeing my child. And so I would always ask to come and pick Janae up, and Jamie would say, well, when she gets a little older, you can. Now I would still come spend time with her, but I couldn't take her with me. She couldn't spend the night with me. And it was one day they said that she had to wait at least until she was like 6 or 7 months. And I did that. But I called one day and I said, can I come and pick Janae up? And she says, yes. And I got there to pick her up. And when I got there, Janae wasn't in there. Janae wasn't in the living room with Jamie. So I said, Jamie, where is Janae? And she said, she's back in the room with Mama, who would be her grandmother. So I went back there to get her and I said, I'm back here to get Janae. And she says, well, that baby's staying right here where it's supposed to be with its mama. So I go back in the living room and I say, Jamie, she's telling me I can't take my baby. And Jamie's quiet. That's her mother. That's all she knows at this point. And I said, you're not going to say anything? And she says, no, I don't know what to do. And I said, so I drove all the way out here to pick up my daughter and now I can't take her. No,
right.
You can't. Mama said you can't. I'm like, wow. So believe me, I'm furious now. I leave.
Hold up. I understand how you feel, right? Because that's your only child.
Mm-hmm.
And you drove all these miles and you're like, hey, I want to take my baby to spend some time with me. And the mama said no.
Right.
What did you do?
Man, I was so hot. First I tell Jamie, look, we laid down and had this baby. You know what I mean? Like what grandparent tries to keep a father from his child when he wants to be there? Because I know several people who doesn't take care of their children. I know many of them. And I couldn't believe that here I am wanting to take care of my child. And she won't let me see my child or take my child with me. I don't want to say see, but I could see her, but I couldn't take her with me. So I drive off and I stop at a payphone. We didn't have cell phones back then, and I call Jamie on the payphone. She picks up the phone and I'm asking her like, why did this happen? Like, why didn't you call me and say that, I can't come? I wouldn't be so mad, And she said, well, I didn't know until you pulled up. When you pulled up, she asked why you were here. I told her, and she just took Janae to the back room. Like I didn't know, So it all hit me all of a sudden. And I said, well, what's the reason she won't let me keep her? Is it because she doesn't think I know how to take care of a child? Because if that's the case, whatever it is you think I don't know how to do, you could come over with me and show me.
And teach you, exactly.
Right. So now watch this. Now her mother's listening on the other phone. And so she says, Jamie, hang up the phone. Right. Jamie hangs up. Jamie hangs up the phone just like she was told to. All right. And she says, Kevin, I knew this was you. I knew you was going to try to make my daughter shack up with you. I said, that's not what I asked. I never asked her to shack up with me. I never said shack up with me.
I went through the same thing. I'm not gonna lie. It was this girl that I used to talk to. Her mom would always be in the way. Her mom would always answer the phone when I call, or she would want to know where she's going, what she's doing, why am I coming to the house and all that. And I'm trying to insert myself in the family so we can get along. But she always had a problem with me, and she never told me why.
Right.
But yeah, sorry to interject. Keep on.
No problem. It'll bug you out, man. So she's on the phone telling me my intentions. You're trying to get my daughter to shack up with you. No, I'm not. I'm definitely not trying to do that. So I want to learn how to keep her. I don't know what your problem is. And she just talks over me and says, if you keep this up, you won't see Jamie or your baby. Now, keep in mind, she's a preacher at my church. Yeah. And she's a judge. Okay. So I'm thinking she has the power to do this because I just came to a
judge in the courts?
In the courtroom. She's a magistrate, I should say.
That's crazy.
Right. So I believe she has the power to do it. And the way that Jamie's listening to her and I'm like, you can say, I'm not asking you to argue with your mother, but you could give her your perspective. But she was scared to even do that, So I was thinking even without the court system, she could do this because Jamie listens to whatever she says. So I went to work and I'm talking I've always had way older friends. People say I got an old soul. I think like an old head because I was raised by an old head, but I'm talking to one of my older friends. He's in his 50s and he tells me, man, if you love that girl, you're going to have to, he said, if you want that baby, you're going to have to marry that woman. That's what he told me. He said, if you want that baby in your life, you're going to have to marry that woman. And I believed him, so I went to Jamie and I got a ring. I went to Jamie and I told her, I said, listen, I'm not in love. I'm not in love, but I promise you, I'll treat you like it. And I will, if you marry me, we can raise this baby, raise Janae and give her the world. I will never cheat on you.
Let me pause you for a second. A lot of people think the reason why people get married is because of love, right?
Right.
And it doesn't always have to be like that. It can be because you want to fall in love with that person and you like them enough to keep them around till that happens. Or it can be because you have, like you said, a child with that person and you don't want to throw that away.
Right.
And a lot of people will say, oh, well, if we're not in love, then we shouldn't be together. No, that's not how that works. Because when you meet somebody the first time, it's not love at first sight. Maybe 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 20, right? But you can always learn to love somebody. So that's another good point that you made.
Thank you. And I just wanted to be honest with her. I had never been in love. At the time, I don't even know if I believed in it because of how I was raised. My father left and even though one of my aunts raised her child, she did so completely single. She'd have certain people that she'd call her friend or whatever, but she was kind of dating these guys, but they date for a while, then there'd be another guy, and none of my aunts or uncles or whatever had a significant other. It's like they were just, I guess, single out here. You know what I mean? So I didn't see two people raise up loving each other. I never witnessed that at all in my life, So I told her I'm not in love, but I will treat you like it. And I told her that I will never cheat on you. I told her, I said, I know I'm not the most attractive person in the world, and I'm asking you not to cheat on me. I'm asking you, I won't cheat on you. You know what I mean? So she said she would marry me. She was definitely down for giving our child a great future. She knew that I had the qualities to be a great father. I knew she had the qualities to be a great mother. I would have, if we didn't get along so well, Jamie and I would have never asked her to marry me, even though I wanted my daughter with me. But Jamie has always been a respectful person.
Say about all that?
She was relieved. Even though she didn't like me, she felt like I ruined Jamie's future. Jamie was about to go to UNC on a scholarship, And she felt like I stripped her of that because now she has this baby, you know. So she did not like me. In fact, she would tell the church members that I'll never be her son-in-law, regardless. So, and they would all come back and tell me they're just horrible gossipers. But you know, but you know, when she found out we were getting married, though, even though she didn't like me, she was relieved because she said that it's better to marry than to burn. So she assumed that we were still having sex, which we weren't. Jamie and I were both. I was in church and I was already a youth minister when I got Jamie pregnant. We had sex one time and she got pregnant. It wasn't something we were just practicing on the norm. You know, she just got pregnant and we both felt bad when we had sex, but she just was pregnant after that. You know, a couple of weeks later, she came back and said she was pregnant, but we both repented, went to the altar and stopped. We didn't even hang out at night anymore because we didn't want to do that anymore. So I was very strict. I wanted to live right. I did. My pastor sit me down for the entirety of Jamie's pregnancy. Because see, Jamie was a minister, but not a speaking type minister. She was a praise dancer. And so because she couldn't dance because she was pregnant and he didn't want her up there dancing with a big belly and people say, well, she must be having sex out of wedlock and kind of throw people off of the service. He says, look, because she's pregnant by you, I wouldn't normally sit you down for this long for the act, but because she's pregnant, I'm going to have you sit down for the full term of the pregnancy. So I couldn't preach. I couldn't do anything. You know what I mean? So it was horrible because I loved to I loved to serve God, what I thought was serving God at the time. So that was stripped from me and I just would read and, you know, learn during that time. But, you know, again, I said all that to say that we weren't having sex like that. So, but our mother nevertheless thought we were. So she was relieved and said that it's better to marry than to burn, you know. So she actually married us. We went to the courthouse. We got our marriage certificate. She married us in front of an apartment that I just rented for us to live in. And her husband was the witness. Okay, so Jamie's father was the witness, and then the next door neighbor to my apartment was a witness. This girl that lived next door to us. We didn't have a wedding at all, but we got married at that moment, and from there I lived a married life. I was a good husband to her, the best husband that I could be, rather. But I never felt in love while she was a great person, and I would pray to love her. And I would go to my pastors and sit down with them and say, hey, look, I'm not in love and I feel miserable because I want to feel like I'm in love. And I would hear certain church members stand up and declare their love for each other. And I wanted to feel what they were feeling, you know. And they told me that by faith, if I treat her like I love her, then the love would come, you know. So 2 children later, treating her like I love her, you know, I'm still feeling kind of empty inside. So I go through when I get about 30, 31, 32, one of those ages, whatever, I finally tell her I'm not happy. I want to step out, and not step out, but just I want to leave the relationship. And I've done this probably once every 3 years, the entire time we were together. So I'm sure by now she's tired of hearing it, tired of going through the pain of feeling like she's going to lose me and then me change my mind and stay. So at this point, she didn't put up a fight. She said, I understand. It sounds like it's something you need to do, you know. And so I did leave. I went and got my own place after that. And this is when about maybe a year later, almost 2 years later, I began to date.
I respect the fact that you told her, because a lot of guys will just step out and do whatever they want to do anyway, and then they'll be like, okay, well, she found out I already don't like her. I mean, I already don't love her, so I'm gonna leave her anyway. So if she found out, that so be it. So the fact that you went and told her that, hey, this is how I feel, I'm thinking it made it easier for her to understand when it came time for you to actually leave. Because if you lead somebody on and you're telling them one thing and doing something else, it's harder for them to actually, let the relationship go, because they feel like, oh, well, you're telling me this, but you're doing this. What is it?
Absolutely.
And I respect that. So you went and got your own place. She got 2 kids. Those are your kids. Are you still taking care of them?
Absolutely. So we have 3 children. So we have 2 sons and a daughter. But yeah, so I didn't move too far. My children would stay with me for a week and then stay with her for a week, and we just kind of traded off.
Wait, I'm talking about when you left her and when they got your own apartment. How many kids did y'all have then?
3.
3?
3, yes. My youngest son is 14. Then I have another son that's 15. Then my daughter's 19.
Okay, so you had 3 kids with her when you left her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you got your own apartment, and what are you venturing into? What are you exploring?
At the moment, I took some time to myself. I wanted to make sure that this was the right move. So I didn't date for at least the first year and a half. But what we would do, Jamie and I would keep the children for a week and she would keep the children for a week. We both lived within the same bus route, so it was very easy for us to do. We didn't want the children's world to be so upset by that. So we've always tried to remain close to each other. There's been several times where I'd move to take a promotion, but I'd also pay for them to move to come live close to me if she was willing to. And, because I wanted them to be close to me.
Different states or different neighborhoods?
There have been times where I've had to move to different neighborhoods and states.
You say bus route. She didn't have a car and you didn't have a car?
No, we just worked full time, so our children took the bus.
Okay. Yeah. How did the mom feel about you leaving her daughter after giving her 3 kids?
Actually, they knew I was there 100% as a father, period. But by this time, I had earned sort of her mother's respect. So her mother has 2 more daughters who had gone through who at this time had several relationships and a child by maybe a couple of different men. And while they were trying, the men that they were meeting just weren't really there for it. So it happens like that. You can be a woman and truly love someone, and before you know it, now you've got a body count and children by different dudes because those dudes didn't honor their commitments. And that's kind of what happened. And so she would look at me and say, I really enjoyed Kevin because Kevin is stuck by his children. Jamie don't have to chase him down to do stuff for his children. So by this time I had earned her respect regardless. But at the same time, Jamie was very private and she didn't explain a lot of these things to her mother. So there were a few years that went by that Jamie and I were separated that her mother didn't even know.
Oh, so
yeah.
She didn't tell her.
Right. We lived in a different state. We were living in Savannah, Georgia. Her mother was living in Baltimore. So she never came to visit. So we didn't have to tell her, I didn't care, but I didn't talk to her mom like that. But Jamie, for whatever reason, didn't want to tell them that, but she eventually did. And when she did, they didn't get upset with me either. They still, love me for, who I am in Jamie's life and my children's life. Because even when me and Jamie wasn't together, I'm still, because when I left Jamie, she wasn't making enough to pay her bills. So I left and paid her bills and my own. I just needed to get out of the house because I felt miserable as far as just finding love. Now, as far as how I was treated, Jamie is amazing. She's always treated me amazingly. I just didn't feel what I thought was love inside of me. So I needed to leave because I really felt like she deserved better.
In that situation.
Yeah, and I felt like she deserved better. I felt like she deserved someone who's going to genuinely love her. You know what I mean? Right. Because she's amazing. I would ask myself over and over, why don't you love this girl? She's great, but it just doesn't work like that,
It has to be both parties present at the time. It can't just be one person because it'll never work out.
Absolutely.
So you got your own place. She got 3 kids. You're dating. Mm-hmm. When did you meet your other significant person?
Lacey. Now, so Jamie and I separated. We're separated for several years, and of course, I'm dating at this point. And
So Lacey is the one with the locks.
Lacey is the one with the locks. Yes, I met Lacey about a year and a half ago, and we met online. She's a life coach, as I am, and I had messaged her, wanted to tell her that her lives were really good. Her topics were really strong. I liked her dialogue, her rhetoric, if you will.
Instagram, Facebook.
Facebook. And
Facebook will give people in trouble.
by this time, I'm world known now for my speaking, for what I do, and so she was well aware of who I was, but when I messaged her, she didn't believe it was me. She thought that someone was moderating my account and just trying to flirt with her through my page, so she would always respond back, I don't think this is really you, prove it, and stuff like that,
Yeah.
Yeah. So we ended up meeting up for a date, and we had a great afternoon, but I ended up getting really sick after that, stomach cancer, and I had to have my stomach removed.
I seen you post. When I was going through your page, I seen a post about that you said you glad that you survived through cancer and this and this and that. Elaborate.
So my mother, first off, my mother died of gastric diffuse stomach cancer when I was only 3. Again, she was 33, and it's one of the fastest killing cancers that there is. The normal person is less than 1% likely to catch this cancer or to have this cancer, where I was over 85% likely because my mother passed on a gene to me that makes me susceptible. Now she had 5 children, and 4 of the 5 children received this gene also. We didn't know this until a year or so ago. My sister ended up being hospitalized because she had gastric diffuse stomach cancer, and she died. That was very painful. She actually died while I was holding her hand.
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. But we went after that to go get tested. She was 44. So at the time, I'm 36, 37, something like that. And so I go and I get tested, and I have it. I have the gene and I have cancer. So I wasn't playing around with this thing. They caught it early. So they said, we'll remove your entire stomach. You won't have to worry about it anymore. So I did that. It was
your entire stomach? Like
my entire stomach. So
how do you eat?
Right. So I was on a feeding tube for a while, but what they do is they take your esophagus and connect it to your lower intestine. So your lower intestine now becomes your new stomach, even though it's significantly smaller. But it's supposed to stretch over time to where you can almost eat normally. I'm not there. I eat 6 times a day. I have to eat really small meals because I can't eat large meals, but I don't have to use a feeding tube. I can eat like a normal person. You wouldn't know. You would think I just have a really strict diet where I'm eating 6 times a day, like what a bodybuilder would do.
So is that why you keep your figure and your shape, and is that the secret?
That's pretty much. I couldn't change my body if I wanted to. I can work out.
People think you be working out every day. People think you really be in the gym like that. They're like, that dude is fit. So how is that not a secret?
No, listen, man, listen. I did have to work out, and I still do work out, but that surgery, man, took away all of my body size. Now, I was a bodybuilder years ago, so I was a really big guy before the surgery, though. However, though, after the surgery, when I got the surgery, I was 220 pounds. 6 months later, I was 137 pounds. So I was nothing but skin and bones.
Are you telling people if they want to lose weight and get that perfect, I guess, social body that everybody wants to see, all they got to do is go get their stomach taken out?
I am not saying that. No, sir. Listen, when I tell you I would rather have a stomach and work out, then that's.
So is it hurting the way you eat, or what you want to eat, or how often you want to eat? Is that what you're saying?
Well, my stomach hurts every time I eat because I don't know if I'll ever outgrow that, but it's always excruciating pain for at least 30 or 40 minutes after I eat. And that lasts for about maybe 30, 40 minutes. You know what I mean? So I can't get used to it, man. It is excruciating. But I'll say this, when I got down to 137 pounds, I realized something then, that my body's not going to retain what I eat. I have to literally eat, every 6 times a day just to maintain my body size. When I work out, I'm nowhere near as strong as I used to be. That's why I say I wouldn't trade. People say they would do it to have a certain look, but if you're weak and you're frail, it's not fun. It is not. I've never felt so physically insecure in my entire life. In fact, I broke down in tears one time in the shower, just 6 or 7 months after the surgery. I'm in there, I'm bathing, and at this time my skin was really loose still, and it has since then tightened up to normal, but it was very loose, like a woman's belly would be after she's had a baby. And I'm bathing and stuff, and I start washing my body, and I'm washing my backside, and my butt is all like just skin and loose, and it felt so horrible. It felt like I was washing an old man, and I just began to cry. I began to cry, man. I was like, is this what it's going to be like? I didn't know that my body would recover, but it since then has, but with a lot of work, so I can work out for 2 months straight, 3 months straight. And honestly, back then when I had a stomach, man, I could get the same results in literally no time, where it takes me way longer now to do that. Now I will say this though, people do go get partial stomach removals and things like that to lose weight. But I would never suggest doing something like that to lose weight. I believe in working out. I believe in getting the weight off yourself because it builds discipline and it builds strength. I always say that if you put a lion in a zoo and you feed it and then you set him free in the jungle, he'll starve to death because he won't have the strength to hunt. And the reason is the hunt is what builds strength. The hunt is what gives you the power. And when you're chasing animals every day, now you become good at it and stronger. So if someone gives you a body, how people go get augmented and things like that and changed up, if someone gives you that, okay, yeah, you look good, but you're not strong. Strength comes when you actually go do the work, so I would never say, hey, go do that, because it speeds it up for you. I think like the downtime and all after these surgeries, if you just work out, you could do that. You think about it now, people go get stomach removals, they get lipo, and they still have to be on bed rest and down for like 6 months. So it's like in 6 months, if you worked hard, what could you have accomplished instead of going and letting these doctors do it? And you could save a lot of money.
And not only that, after you get this lipo or this surgery, and you fall right back on the lifestyle that you used to live before you got this surgery, you're gonna end up right back in a position that you ain't want to be in the first place.
Absolutely.
So people need to be cautious about that.
You're absolutely right.
It sounds like you've been through a lot, man, and I can't imagine it because I've never been through it. I'm sitting right here now, and my stomach, you can wiggle it. You know what I'm saying? I'm proud of it because it's my stomach. I used to work out. I used to work out a lot, like at least 4 or 5 days a week. And to be honest, I only did it because I wanted people to see me in society as everyone else.
Right.
That's what we want to see. We want to see a man with muscles. We want to see six pack. But now I feel like I don't have to do that because I accept myself for who I am. You know what I'm saying? And your story, I think that would it would resonate with a lot of people because a lot of people go through that. They're like, damn, I'm too fat or I'm too skinny. What do I have to do this and that? And you going through that and accepting who you are, it'll help a lot of people out. You know what I'm saying? And so you meet Lacey, you go on a date. What type of questions is she asking? Or is she just being on the defense, picking your brain? What's going on?
Well, one of the things that attracted me to Lacey is that she's an intellectual. So I was, very eager to get with her. Now, imagine this now. We went out on one date, and that was a very good date. And we talked about poly lifestyles then. I asked her, has she read into it? Has she looked at it? And she says that she has.
Why?
And she understands it.
Why was that one of the first things that you talked about?
Because at this time, I realized that this is what I wanted.
So you already knew what you wanted.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. I felt like I was unfair. I felt like I was being very to women. I felt like I was trying to have my cake and eat it too. When I would explain to women that, this is our culture and explain also that it's conducive for building generational wealth. They would just say, you just want your cake and eat it too. And so for the first few women I would introduce this to or ask because I didn't want to play games. If I go out on a date with you, the first date, I'm going to explain to you what I'm looking for, what I would like. And so a lot of times they would say that they would demonize me for wanting that type of lifestyle. So I began to ask myself, like, is my thinking wrong? I didn't take into account at the time that, all you need is a few people. Like if you want a relationship with 2 women in a poly lifestyle, then you just need 2 women that would agree. But at the time, no woman was agreeing with this stuff. They wanted me to themselves, So when I asked Lacey about it, and Lacey at the time said that, she had thought about it. She had actually been asked a couple of times to join different polygamous lifestyles. And when she was asked this, it's just an inbox. So they might send her a message and say, hey, I have a wife and we're looking for a third person. Would you be interested in poly, like that? Not actually soliciting her in person. But she would say,
she was saying that she was open to it, but it's the way that people was approaching her about it.
Right. She hasn't yet found an opportunity that she'd like to pursue, but
so it was more like a commercial type thing, like, hey, this and that, you'll be better, it'll make you look better, you'll live a better life instead of coming to her as a person, right?
Right.
So you telling her all this, What's her response, and what's the look on your face?
Well, she seemed okay with it. She handled it better than anyone else had so far. But again, I got sick after that, so I didn't continue conversations. I was so messed up, man. I had to change my whole life around because at this time I've already left religion, and my job has fired me for speaking out about religion. And so I'm trying to make it on my own without a job. So I didn't have a job when I had to get this surgery. I did it with no finances, and so basically
Wait, let's cut that. You said you left the church for speaking about religion, so you would define what they were preaching?
No. Okay, so basically, I'm posting on Facebook, and I posted a post on Facebook that said, what if the Bible is not the word of God? At this moment, I had already stopped preaching. They understood that I no longer believed the way I used to, and I wanted to do more research before I continued. So I just put, what if the Bible is not the word of God? But what happened was a lot of my church members commented on the post saying, I cannot believe you're talking like this. You're listening to the devil. You've been deceived. You've been, you've been possessed,
They're stuck in their ways.
Right. So naturally that hurt my feelings. So I made a video to announce to them why I did this. So I made a video the next day on my way to work to say that, listen, guys, I know you guys saw me in the church. I know you saw me preach, and I know you saw me doing all these things. But look, I have done extensive research, and this stuff cannot be proven as true, just like other religions. So this is why I stepped away. I can't put my future or my afterlife and base it on something that I don't believe in, and so basically that video took off, and it got like 8 million views in no time. And my boss called me about it and said, is this video, is this you? And I said, yes, it has nothing to do with work. I didn't even have work attire on. He says, I see that, but my main concern is working here going to be a problem for you now? Like, have you thought about what if customers come in and they don't want to work with you because you're not Christian, or they want to challenge you or argue with you or debate with you because you're not, or even hurt you? It's a crazy world. And you can see death threats in the comments. I'm getting inboxes on threats, but I needed my job. I told my boss, it's not a problem. And if it is, I promise you, I will tell you. He says, okay. Well, I go in the next day, and they have a piece of paper that it says I'm suspended until further notice. So but on my way home, I say it again.
I don't think, not to cut you off, I don't think they're allowed to do that. As far as when it comes to religion, you can't fire somebody because of the way they look or what they believe in. That's against the law. Number one.
You're absolutely right. But the problem is, in North Carolina, it is an at-will state. They can fire you for no reason. And so if they don't tell you they're firing you for religion, then they're okay. And they didn't. They just said that you're suspended until further notice, and didn't tell me why. So they were definitely able to fire me. I went, made a video even then and told the people, because at this time, 8 million people watched my last video and counting. And so I go live to explain to the people who are now following me that, listen, God, I got fired today. And you can tell I'm sad. I'm on the video saying I never want to work for somebody again, because I've worked there for years. I've always been really good at sales. This is how I've taken care of my family for years now. And they fired me because I don't believe in religion. Like, it hurt my feelings so bad, so I declared I would never have to work for anybody. I would never work for anybody again. And I would do whatever I could to not have to do that. So, and I swallowed my pride at least 6 months later, but no one would hire me because my name was so popular now. When they would call me.
I mean, come on, you got 8 points. You said 8. You got 8 point something million views. So yeah.
And that's just one page. That's just one page. That's one person who shared it. The video was on several pages where it had 4 million views, 6 million views. So millions of people around the world saw this, And so I remember interviewing with a few companies, and when I would walk in the door, they would immediately say, man, I was hoping it wasn't you. Like, no offense, your resume is stellar. I was just hoping you weren't that Kevin Wesley. You know what I mean? So, and they would say, man, we can't hire. Listen, I couldn't even get a job.
That's stereotyping. Like, on the cool, that's just straight up stereotyping.
I'm telling you, man, and it's like I felt like I was blackballed. I felt like I'm being blackballed. That's what it is. Absolutely. I'm not just in sales. I couldn't get a job working for a call center because they were saying that even the employees would know who you are, and it's not going to go well. They're going to want to argue with you and debate you over religion. I went against something that you know, in our matrix, that's held in high regard, the Christian faith, you know. So I didn't think anything about any of that when I made that video. All I was trying to do was let the people that went to my church know why I left. I had no idea that video would go viral. I had no idea that other people would take the video off my page and put it on theirs. I had no idea, you know. I never thought about anything like that, you know, but it just happened. And here I am now. All these people want to know why I left, and they calling me and asking me to come speak and about my life and why I left religion. And this is when I learned that I can just keep doing this. So if people would book me to come speak, I would say, you know what, I'll rent my own place and do an event, you know. And so this is kind of how I monetized myself during that time, but it was few in between. You know, I had to have my own money to rent a place, and so it was very hard for me. So when I lost my job, I had to change some things around. Or when I had to get the surgery, I had to change some things around. So I ended up moving back in with Jamie, as she was going to take care of me, help me survive this surgery. You know, so, and she did. She was there to help with me with the feeding tubes, clean the feeding tubes, clean my wounds. And even though we're not together, we still maintain a great friendship. She is my best friend. And she's been that since before we even had a child. I would walk her home from church on Wednesdays, and we would have conversations and laugh and stuff like that. And at the time, she had other guys that she was dating at the time, and we were just friends. It's just we ended up getting together, you know. But so we've always had an amazing friendship, and she had my back through that whole surgery, you know. But when I got healthy enough again, of course, I moved back out. And around this time is when Lacey and I connect again. She's on a plane back from California, and she's going to be in Atlanta for a couple of days. And she says, hey, if you'd like to hang out, you know, I'd like to see you. At that time, I could not, but I ended up calling her, and we linked up a little later, and we had a date. And we had a couple of dates. And once we had a couple of dates, she has now leaned towards the other women now. She's like, I can do poly, but not with you. Like, I love you so much, I can't share you. That was her thing. And this the thing. Yeah, Lacey had gotten to the point where she was like, I can see myself doing poly, but not with you. I'm not gonna want to share you. Like, you're just too amazing, you know. So, and this is what I've gotten from women. They'll say they're with poly for a while, and then after a while they'll say, well, I'm not with it. I want to share you specifically. And I felt like I was being manipulated a little bit.
That's the whole point of poly, right?
Right. But I felt like I was being manipulated. You know, guys do this too. They tell a girl everything she want to hear, and then later on the truth start coming out. So I was like, you never was for poly. So this was my thinking, you know. You know, but anyway, so
when you started talking back to Lacey, that you was still living with your first wife. Well, you went back living with your first wife.
No. When I started talking to Lacey, I wasn't living with her either time. When I first met Lacey, I was living on my own. After the surgery,
back to your own place.
Yeah, after the surgery, I got my own place, and I was living in my own place when I met Lacey. And keep in mind now, I'm courting other women as well. So I am courting other women, looking for, you know, love. I wanted to be in love. So that was my first thing. I wanted to experience what love would feel like. But at the same time, though, I'm traumatized, severely traumatized. Like, when I tell you, man, trauma to another level. Like, you asked me earlier about, do women approach me like I'm a pretty boy? No. And it was so much so, I began to believe that women just didn't really find me attractive. Like, I wanted a woman who wanted me at first sight. You know, like not telling me that it's my mind. I wanted a woman to be like, straight up, I want you because of how you look. Like, I just had never gotten that. So I wanted that. So I would go out on these dates, and even some women would talk like this over the phone. Oh, when I see you, it's going to be this and that. And they get my expectations high because I wanted to experience this type stuff. But then when they actually saw me in person and hung out with me in person, and my problem is I talk, you know, I'm going to talk, and I love to, you know, philosophize. And so while I'm doing that, their mind is totally not thinking about sex anymore, you know? So it's just this guy's beautiful mind, you know what I mean? So I never got that sex I wanted, you know what I mean? But here's the thing.
So you're messing it up for yourself.
Right. I'm messing up, not realizing it though. And here's the thing. They're telling me this, but I'm still ignoring it. They're saying, how can I think about sex your mind being so beautiful, like we talking, we having conversations, and you're not the type of guy that just wants sex, are you? You don't seem like that at all. And the thing was, no, I wasn't. I would have still liked you tomorrow. I would have never judged you if you had sex with me, period. I see sex as animalistic. I don't think that women can have sex less than women, have sex less than men, or should, as far as that goes, without getting a stigma. And I say that in terms of saying like how a man can have all the sex he wants and he's just seen as a player or something like that. Where if a girl does it, she's demonized now, she's a whore and all these types of things. I don't believe in stuff like that. I think that these type of terms were created to hold people back. So to tell a woman that she can't pursue herself sexually is unfair, because men can pursue themselves sexually. I don't think that's right. So of course, in their mind, though, they thought I thought like every other guy. And they said by his nature, by the way he carries himself, if I offer him sex, he ain't gonna like me tomorrow. He's gonna think I do this all the time. When in reality, I would have thought I was special. I wouldn't have did it. I wouldn't have judged you. But this is what they thought.
Because from your mindset, you don't think at the time you weren't thinking you're a pretty boy. So all you wanted was somebody who would actually look at you that way and actually have sex with you that first night.
Absolutely. And the thing was, they would tell me I was attractive, but they would not show me the initiative, the assertiveness that I wanted. You know what I mean? I wanted to be ravaged, and my brother and them messed me up. My brother and them, man, they would tell me about, and I've been with my brother, okay? And before he was married and stuff like that, and he'd get a number from a girl, and before he can even get out of the door good from wherever we are, let's just say we're like in a hookah lounge or something. He meets the girl, hey, you're beautiful, can I have your number? She puts her number in his phone. And before he can get out of the door good, she's already asking him which hotel can they go to, telling him things that she want to do to him. This stuff never happens for me. You understand what I'm telling you? And they can tell me I look good all day, but they're not talking to me like this. And this makes me feel kind of ugly. You know what I mean? So I'm sitting here like, how can my brother's telling me the same thing, bro? You just too romantic. You too loving to these women. Like, they're not about to do that with you. You know, he said with me, they know I ain't about shit. So just, but for me,
that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying in the beginning of this episode, that a woman would treat you the way you present yourself.
Absolutely.
If you come at them as a savage or a pretty boy, you're just like, hey, this is what I want, this is what I'm gonna do, they will give it to you and treat you like that. But if you come at them with that other mindset, hey, I'm here for longevity, I'm here to do this and do that, you're not gonna get it on the first night.
No, sir. Or the second one either. Listen, man, I'm telling you, man, like when you approach with all that type of respect, in their mind, not throwing themselves at you is respecting you the same. So exactly. Right. So they'll say you got all these husband qualities and father qualities. I didn't want to ruin it. You know, I didn't want to ruin it with you, because I know they know how dudes think. You know what I mean? So even if they are sexually aroused by you,
they assume.
Right. They assume, absolutely. Absolutely. Or at least the encounters that they've had in life has taught them this. Their perspective has been skewed.
Life experience.
Right. Absolutely. So of course, every guy doesn't think like this, you know, but here's my thing. I thought like this. I was like, well, even though I'm not carrying myself in that way, like, hey, let's have sex type of way, I wanted them to push past that anxiety they felt, that nervousness they felt, and really still ravage me, really still show me that assertiveness. Because my brother would say stuff like, soon as I got in the room, she threw me up against the wall, took my clothes. Now, I wanted this, okay? I wanted this to happen for me. You know what I mean? So I'm not having it, man. I remember for me, it's more like I got to give you a massage first, you know, and then right, and then ask, can I put the tip in? You know what I mean? So, and ask nicely too. And here's the thing. I'm used to like them seeming like they want to, and then when you get close, then they have a change of heart. You know what? No, and it's like, okay, crap, yo. So I'm never that guy that they just throw themselves at ever. You know what I mean? So
hey, that's not a bad thing, though.
No, it's not. But I was traumatized, so I believe that I took that as they didn't really like me, because when they would say I felt nervous, I would ask, well, have you ever had a one night stand? And most of them would say yes. So when they said that, I would say, well, it's not your fault, but I couldn't bring it out of you. So because I couldn't bring it out of you, I no longer wanted to pursue, because I felt like if some other guy can meet you on day one and bring that out of you and I couldn't, then I'm missing that animalistic thing that would make you want me in the future. So me and Jamie's relationship, being married, was very kind of closed up. Like we both were tainted due to being raised in religion. So we never was really that sexual or sensual, I should say. So it was very basic, you know what I mean? It wasn't like that. So I wanted that though, you know, so I wanted this crazy like sex life or whatever, or someone to treat me like they wanted me, like in a way like that. So, and here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Like your brother. Right. I want to look. Women helped to traumatize me. Okay, let me explain to you now. My brother's traumatizing me with telling me his experiences, but there's been women, man, I've dated and taken out on 4 or 5 dates, spent money on buying dinners, everything, and treating nice. You know, being a good person. Yeah. And here's one specific girl. Okay, we went on 6 dates, and we're sitting there, we're watching TV, and Idris Elba comes on TV. Now, this girl, the first time we went out, I took her to Ruth's Chris. Our dinner ended up being almost $300, and she didn't even want me to hold her hand on the first day. We're walking in Savannah, and she's staggering on this cobblestone in her heels. Right, she's about to fall. So I reached for her hand to help her stabilize herself. I like to hold hands. I'm one of those weird types. I like to hold hands and shit like that. So I reached for her hand, and she didn't want to embarrass me, so she held my hand until we got into the another little spot we went to. But when we got in there, she said, "I don't really feel comfortable holding hands on the first date." I'm like, "Okay, hang on, wait, time out." In my mind, I didn't say this out loud, but in my mind, I'm thinking, "Wait a second, you will allow me to spend $300 on food, but then tell me you won't hold my hand?" Like that, I really was like, "Wow!" But I didn't let it get to me. I didn't want to be so much in my ego that I think I deserve her to hold my hand, cause I paid for food. Because if I do that, where does it stop? Because soon I'll be thinking that I deserve sex because I pay for food. I don't want it like that. You know what I mean? So I said, okay, I respect that. I didn't try to hold her hand. So here we are now, 6 dates in, and we're watching this movie, and Idris Elba comes on TV. And this lady looked at me and said, "He can get it." She said, "Idris Elba can get it anytime." And look, at this moment, I said, "Wait a second, time out." So I can take you on all these dates, right? Yeah. Be a perfect gentleman to you. Yeah. But Idris Elba can just get it? Like, man, it hurt my feelings. And she told me I was being immature. And I said, maybe I am, but I don't care. I don't want to date you anymore. Like, I never saw that girl again. You understand? Because of Idris? No, not because of Idris, but because she said that he could get it at any time. So I'm thinking like, here's my thought. I never get mad at the female. I more so think like, if I can't bring that out of you, then I'm not the one for you. You know what I mean? So I don't want to be in a relationship with you 6 months down the road, and you still not showing me that you really want me. We're still missing that passion. So I'm like, so it's like if we're at 6 dates now and I still haven't gotten that passion, and yet I hear you say someone else can get it, then I now know that your mind can think like that, but I couldn't bring that out of you. So now it's like kind of crazy though. That is. Now I was more upset because she told me out loud, like she didn't have to tell me that crap. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she could have kept it to herself. It would have been better if she kept it in her head. It would have been better, bro. Nobody would have been hurt by that. Hey, that's crazy. We say some of us will say, "Hey, we don't get jealous or we don't get emotional," but there's times where our women will say some crazy shit and we'll be like, "I can't believe she just said that." Man, tell me, listen, the thing about it is I don't lie about my feelings. I don't care if you judge me after. If something hurt my feelings, I'm going to tell you that shit hurt my feelings. You don't have to tell me that. Like, you know, but it hurt my feelings more so because, you know, she told me out loud. But the logic that I was using was, if I can't bring that out of you, then maybe I'm not the one for you, you know. So I would leave, and this is how it carried on from that point. If a girl, if she did not sleep with me, if she did not show me passion at all, and then the next day or whatever, she would say she wanted to. My question was, have you done this before though? And if they would say yeah, I would immediately think that I couldn't bring it out of them, so they must not like me. Now they would give me a lot of reasons as to why, and of course that would be because of my intelligence and how I carried myself. But I felt like they should just push past it, you know. But at the same time, I wasn't trying either. So I wasn't trying because that's what I was gonna say. Right. Us humans, we're capable of anything, right? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because we are born as a baby and we grow up
and we get these things instilled in us, and we still go through that process where we got to think for ourselves and make a decision.
Right.
Some of us steer the other way, and some of us follow that one path that we were raised to be. So you can't put the blame on someone if you're not trying. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
so,
absolutely.
For example, you ask her, "Oh, have you done this before?" She's like, "Yeah, but I don't feel like doing it the same way with you." Now, she said that. What are you doing about it? Are you pushing her? Are you, not pressing, but helping her to understand? Hey, you don't have a problem with that if you're doing it with me because I want to be with you. I'm not like these other guys. So the street goes both ways because people say, "Oh, she's a stripper, or she's a hoe, she's a prostitute," and that something led her to do that.
Right. And so, now for me, my trauma got in the way of all that because I've been a Casanova. I can.
You felt like my brother's doing this, he's doing that. I'm not that ugly looking. Why I'm not getting this? And so when you get rejected in that sense where they're not trying to sleep with you that same night, you get big headed and you're like, well, then I don't want to be with you because you're not giving me what I want.
Right, or more so, like you're not really attracted to me like that. Like you're gonna be with me because I'm a good man. You're gonna be with me because I have certain ideals and certain certain attributes. You don't really want me like that. You just like if you think like this, man. Most of the time, and I guess women should think like this, but you should want to be with someone who's gonna be a good father to children if y'all have them, and a good partner to you. So regardless of how they look, you should want to date someone who's going to treat you right. And so I felt like they were looking at me for those qualities and not because they were truly, truly attracted to me, like wanted me. You know what I mean? So, and again, I've been the guy who would talk you out of your drawers. I've been that guy. I've been the guy who would give you a massage and, and all that stuff, But my thing was, I wanted.
That's why. What's her name? Jamie's mama was trying to keep you away from her.
No. Me and Jamie never met like that. Listen, I didn't develop this character until after I had left. So I started.
You gotta understand, them old people, they consistent.
You silly. You silly, man.
She's like, nah. He's trying to talk her out of her job. It ain't gonna happen today.
She did think I was a lot like her, like Jamie's father, who did carry himself like that when he was young. But she was going strictly off my look. She thought that because I was handsome, that I was also a Casanova.
You was a pretty boy.
Right,
but a pretty boy. So.
But actually, I was really shy. Like I was really shy. You know what I mean? So
you can't blame us for that.
No, I completely understand. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to like working for it, I had spent a lot of time working for it. So I know I can get sex if I work for it. It's whisper sweet, nothing's in your ear and say a bunch of stuff. But I wanted someone to organically want me, like my brother be talking about. Like he just get in the room and they already jumping on him. He didn't ask to give no massage. He didn't ask to put the tip in. That's crazy. Yeah, I was ruined, man. It took me a while to grow out of that expectation because it was really killing my love life. Looking for that because I would begin to resent. I would say, you just don't like me like that, and you may say you do, but you ain't showing me. You know what I mean? And so I wasn't gonna say.
More so, you didn't think she liked you the way you wanted her to like you, but she actually did like you for your mindset.
Right. Their problem was they would tell me that they like me for my mindset. And I've heard that my entire life. I've always been smart. I've always had women tell me they like my mind. Always. For once, I wanted a woman to say, I want you because you look good to me. For once. But they never would say, like, often what women would say is, when I first saw you, you were cute, but when I got to talk to you was when I started to feel feelings. This is what they always say. Now, I don't know if they all meant it because later in life, I became a celebrity life coach where I hang out with millionaires and life coach millionaires all the time. And some of these guys, when they meet women, all of them that meet women. So when I'm with them and they meet women, the women always want to tell them how they're not with them for money or they don't like dudes for money. And it's like they clearly know they're talking to a famous millionaire. So I'm thinking they're saying what they think the guy wants to hear. So then I started to rationalize, maybe they do like me for my looks, but are telling me that they don't because they don't want me to be egotistical. But regardless, they didn't show me the passion that I wanted to feel, so I deemed it like they just didn't like me like that, So I've dated women that I really, really liked, but because some love feel like, but they didn't show me that passion. And so the relationship would eventually dwindle because I would get to the point to where I would resent and not want to continue the relationship anymore because I felt like the passion would never come. I'd already been in a passionless relationship for a long time and I didn't want to do that again.
Okay, that's understandable.
Right.
So when did you and Lacey, when did she actually started well, you already said she liked you and she wanted to talk to you, but she wanted to keep you to herself.
Mm-hmm.
When did she decide, okay, I'm gonna try it out?
So I had some things go on, man. I was I'm known worldwide, and I was courting, and so a lot of women I was dating, they didn't like me for me. They liked me for who I was and who I was in the public's eye, and they were with me for clout. So I went through a moment where women were recording me when I was sleeping, recording conversations on the phone. Like I'm sleeping in my bed, they're recording me sleeping. I didn't know. Recording me on a phone conversation with them, recording of course, keeping my text messages, and before you know it, they tried to make their name big off of me. So they start going public and getting on Facebook and lying on me and saying that I'm dating multiple of them without telling them the truth about me dating other women. But of course, I know that I've told all of them the truth. I had text messages to prove I was telling the truth, but of course they wanted to be known for someone be known for dating me. And there were women who never dated me who were saying that they also dated me. There were women who was making up text messages and sending them to other girls and stuff, saying that it was from me, just lying. And so I dumped everybody. Like I stopped talking to every female I was talking to. I got to the point to where I was like, I can't trust anybody. Yeah. So Lacey was one of them. I told her I didn't want to talk to her anymore. And, I left her alone. I didn't talk to her for some months. For some weeks, I should say. I didn't talk to any of those females. And I still wanted to date, though. I don't want to shut my whole life down, though. But at the same time, I'm afraid of who I may meet and what their agenda may be. So I don't really know what to do at this point. Jamie is now calling me and encouraging me because she can see what's happening online. And she never judged me. She never condemned me. And we're having conversations. I'm crying on the phone with her because it was just humiliating, the stuff that these women were doing. But I began to feel a love for Jamie that I'd never felt before. While I already felt that feeling for Lacey, I just stopped talking to Lacey because I didn't trust her. And she didn't do anything to lose my trust. It's just all those women. Else. Yeah. So I said, you know what? I went to Lacey and I asked Lacey, I said, listen, Lacey, I want to be with you. But I know you said that you didn't want to do poly, but I really want to do poly. And if you're willing to do it, I want to be with you. And I asked her, I said, would you consider Jamie? Because the thing about it, Lacey had called me before we had stopped talking and said that she saw Jamie on Facebook and said, I didn't realize your wife was so pretty. I never looked her up or anything, but I saw a picture of her. And you have really good taste in women, Kevin. She's pretty, she's smart and things like that. So I said, remember Jamie you was talking about? She said, yes. I said, I'm considering doing poly with her. At this time, I had not even asked Jamie. I didn't even know if Jamie would even have me back, but Lacey says to me, that's the only way I would do it is if it was Jamie or with your ex-wife. And I said, wow. So I went and I asked Jamie about it. She says that she would, she actually told me that she hasn't dated anyone the whole 7-8 years I've been gone.
Wait, the first time you brought it to her, she said she was okay with it?
She happily said, okay. When I tell you this woman told me that, Jamie told me that she hasn't dated anybody in the whole 7 years that I've been separated from her in hopes that I would come back. She said that she had told herself that this year would have been the last year before she gave up and said, okay, he's not coming back. And she would have moved on after that. But she happily said yes. And I gave them each other's numbers. They started talking and they met up. And when they met up, it was like meeting a best friend on the first, like love at first sight, but for friends. And so they hit it off. They sent me a picture of them two together. And of course I had the hard eyes, you know what I mean? So, and it kind of moved quickly after that because they actually connected so much. I don't know if you're into astrology, but for your listeners, if they are, Jamie and Lacey are both Aries. Both of their sun sign is Pisces, and both of their moons are the same. So it's like they on their birth. On their, say it again.
What sign are you?
I'm a Virgo.
Okay.
Yes, they're Aries, and so but their charts all the way down. They only have like 2 houses that are not the same. I've never met 2 individuals where their zodiacs are that similar. It's literally unreal. But they have so much in common as well, and they are at the same time different. But I've never met two people who had this who had so much alike, and I think that's why this thing really worked. You know what I mean? But that's really how it came about. We started looking at places after that, and with shortly after that, man, we went and got our own place, and here we are.
Okay, so you guys moved in together.
Mm-hmm.
3 kids with Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
You have kids with Lacey?
No, we do not have children.
Does she want to have kids?
She's up and down. I have a granddaughter who lives here with us. My daughter, of course, all of my children are still in the home, but my daughter, she has a granddaughter. I mean, she has a daughter. Her name is Mayana. Beautiful baby, man. And so it's hard to not.
The baby you posted?
Yes. Yeah, so okay. You saw her. So you know what I mean. It's hard to not see her and get baby fever. So Lacey, she teeter-totters. She doesn't want kids, then she does. You know what I mean? So Mayana make you feel that way sometimes.
Okay. Damn, that's a lot to take in. I'm not gonna lie. It is. Your first wife, you left her. You're dating. You went through this whole process where you got women just throwing themselves at you just because they want to be famous or get their name out there. You let all of that go, and then somebody will say, "Well, that's what you wanted in the first place, right? You wanted somebody who will throw themselves at you." And
well, keep in mind, these women still didn't throw themselves at me. None of them gave me that experience I was wanting. None of them did. I've still never had a one-night stand. Not necessarily I was looking for one. I was looking for passion, whether it be the second, third, or fourth night. I didn't get that type of passion, period. And that's what would make me eventually go. Because first I wouldn't get it, and then I would try. And then when I try and don't get it, that's when I really feel like I don't have what it takes to bring that out of you then. So maybe I'm not the one for you. And frankly, I don't want to be in a relationship where I'm trying to get passion from her and she's not giving it. You know what I mean? So that takes a toll on a person. So I would eventually want to end it, you know? So yeah, that's kind of how that went.
So at the point where you're at now, you never had a one night stand?
No, I've never had that.
Are you over with trying to have one night stands?
Oh yeah, I'm over it, man. When that thing happened, with them trying to ruin my name on Facebook and stuff, it hurt so bad it made me rethink my life. And I'm like, is that really important to me to sleep with a stranger? Like, come on now. Like, if all that can happen from being engaged with someone in a sexual encounter, I don't want it, man. I'd rather just be with people who I trust. And that's really why I already loved Lacey. I just, regardless of how much I cared about her, I broke up with her because I wasn't going to date any of those girls at that time. I was just going to say, I'm going to start over and just, and just go from there. But I realized I'm thinking, can I even date like that because of who I am?
Who you are, right. Your name is already out there. You already know. People, watch you. And they might want to just be with you just to benefit themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're in the household that you're in now. What's the difference from being, with a one woman? What's the benefit of it?
Oh, that's several benefits. And I don't want to say to just being with 2 women. I'll just say being with Lacey and Jamie. They're very unique. So it's much more to just being with 2 women. When you talk about Lacey and Jamie, they both goal oriented. They both care about their future, and they're both willing to work to achieve something greater. They both understand what it means to, I call it, plant a tree that you may not get to eat the fruit from, right? Because it may flourish after you have died because trees take a while to mature. So when you create in business and trying to create things for your children on down the road, you may not be able to enjoy some of the harvest, but you got to do it anyway because your children are so important and they deserve better than what we were given. So they're 100% on board with that. And of course, we love each other, but I don't want to have any relationship where we're not also a business. I don't want to have any relationship to where we're not creating and monetizing ourselves and planting food and, and doing all those things and going back to natural ways. Our goal is to become less dependent on the government through getting our mind back, taking our minds back. And I say that to say, how we can think our grandparents are not smart because they can't read as well as us or do certain math equations, but they can go back and they can preserve food, right? They know how to plant food. They know what medicine is without going to CVS. They can tell you remedies and herbs that work. And we think we're smarter than them because we can read words. You know what I mean? When those are just tools, those are just socially agreed upon tools. Actually, they are the ones who are better survivors in the realm of reality than us. We think that we're survivors because we go to work, get paper money, and we go buy food. They can go plant the food and skip over all of that. We need to go back to that. I'm not saying give up on the matrix totally, but
I believe in education, but also I believe you can survive without education because if you look at the world in general, there's a lot of millionaires and billionaires who never finished high school.
Right.
So if you're telling people, hey, you have to go to college or you have to get this certain degree for you to be able to prosper in life, what are you going to say to these millionaires and billionaires who never finished high school? Right. And I understand people will say, oh, well, their family was always rich and this and this and this and that. But some of them actually came up with ideas that made them even more richer than
Absolutely.
just depending on their family money.
Right. The man who created college never went to college, and our ancestors were doing surgeries long before anybody ever heard of a degree. So truthfully, degrees are something that helps the government to monopolize certain professions. So back in the day, your blacksmiths and things of that nature were people who grew up doing it. Their daddy did it, so they learned how to do it. They didn't have a degree, but you went to them because they was the best around, right? You think if Jesus existed the way we thought he did, do you think he had a carpentry license, carpentry degree? Not at all. You learn from your father, you learn from your mother, and then you do what they did, and that's what monetizes you. But they teach us that we have to go to an institution, to learn these types of things. And we have to be approved by their governments or by their institutions to be able to do it freely, and of course they charge you to do that. So this is how they monopolize.
Right. And that institution, which is going to put you in debt for the rest of your life, is not going to turn on the other side and be like, hey, well, since you came through our institution and you got this degree, now you're in debt, we're going to help you get out of this debt. No, once you're out of there, you're out of there. They don't want nothing to do with you.
Absolutely.
How does Lacey treat your kids, your 3 kids by Jamie?
My children actually welcome Lacey in with open arms, and they actually get along really great. Lacey was one week in now, where she's leaving the house to go maybe run errands, and she doesn't say goodbye to the children, and they fuss at her for it. They're like, you part of the family too. You can't leave without saying bye. So they definitely welcomed her in. They faster than what she was willing to move, because she didn't want to, of course, be disrespectful to them or feel like she was being pushy to them. So they more so let her in before she put in the work to do it, So that's always made her smile. It's always been something that she loved about my children, how they are just open-minded. They don't judge. They welcomed her in with love and arms. They didn't say this other woman in here in my house or anything like that. They treat her very well. They respond to her very well. It's like a little heaven over here.
One of your other sons on your page, to be honest, when I was going through your page and I seen him, I thought that was Lacey's son, and I thought the other boy was Jamie's son, and I was like, okay, maybe he got 2 kids by her, and then this other boy is her child, but I didn't know all of them was from Jamie.
Yes.
In saying that, how does Jamie feel about Lacey parenting her kids?
As far as I know, unless Jamie has something deeper down, she doesn't mind at all. And frankly, we don't look at it as parenting, so to speak. We just look at it like being in someone's life. You know, my pastor, he was like my father, but he wasn't my father. I never called him that. I didn't need to. You know, I think so many times that whenever our parents get with someone else, that idea that the child should see them as a father or mother figure is a little unfair, because, you know, it doesn't take that to respond to another adult. So you can have a step parent who you love and honor like a father or mother, but you don't have to see them as that if you already have a father or mother in your life. You know, football coaches, ministers, guidance counselors, so to speak. All of these people can have a really powerful role in your child's life, and they actually are never looked at as a father. You know, so Lacey went into it knowing that. She didn't come into it wanting to be looked at as a mother. And my children are not looking for a mother. They have their mother and father. And so Lacey is just another relationship that they love to have around them.
So me asking that is, you see a lot of people who will have kids by somebody and they'll break up and then they'll go and be with somebody else. And then for some reason, that other person is like, well, I don't want your current girlfriend or wife beating my kids or taking care of my kids because I'm not with you, or I don't trust her, or I want to be with you and you don't want to be with me, so I don't want my kids being around your current girlfriend or wife, blah blah blah. Would you say it's more of the lifestyle that you live that's making it okay, or is it more on that person being accepted to, you know, that other person?
It's more of how I raised my children. You know, I've always raised them to think openly. And when it comes to issues like that, we have these talks and conversations where you think I'm talking to a 30, 40-year-old, but I'm just talking to my 14-year-old son. But you got
to understand that Lacey and Jamie, they both have feelings and they both have, how do I want to put this? They see her as another person, right? And that's their kid or that's her kid. So even though you're saying what you're saying, or this is how you expect your kids to behave or act towards somebody else, they're still like, well, this is my child. Why should my child be this way towards this other woman, right?
Right.
So it's not the lifestyle. You're saying you're raising your kids to be this way, but what are you saying to Jamie to make it okay for Lacey to approach your kids that way, even though they're going to listen to their dad, but they also have a mother? What are you saying to her? What are you talking to her about that she's okay with it?
Yeah, actually, I didn't have to have a conversation with Jamie about that. She had actually studied polygamy for a long time. In fact, while me and Jamie weren't even dating anymore and separated, she would actually tell me that she doesn't think that she wants a traditional relationship anymore. She thinks she might want something like, you know, polygamy. And this was before I ever mentioned it to her or anything like that. So I believe she had probably taken all that into account, that if she's looking for polygamy and she's going to have a sister wife, then, you know, how would she feel if, you know, with the sister wife being around the children and how they interact, how would she feel? And I think she had already taken a lot of it into consideration because we haven't had any hiccups. And I've never had to sit with Jamie and have a conversation about how she felt about Lacey interacting with the children. And Lacey's not like all in their face or anything like that either. Like, it's more so we have our family nights, we have our game nights, we have fun, we sit up and talk. The kids have came to us with challenging emotions that they felt, not about us, but just in life. You know how kids go through things, and Lacey's been there to lend a helpful ear, and it's some things they'll talk to Lacey about, and Lacey will talk back with them about, and they'll come talk to me about it. So Lacey has actually been their first go-to for a few of their conversations. So, but again, Lacey's really good at dialogue. She's very intelligent. She's a good listener. So they definitely see her as a useful part when it comes to working through a lot of what they go through mentally and emotionally.
Okay, so that actually played into your side, that being the fact that she was already looking into polygamy, and when you brought it to her, she was already familiar with it. So that played, a role into her saying, okay, yeah, I'm cool with it. Let's try it out.
Absolutely.
I'm talking about Jamie.
Absolutely. If Jamie Nor Lacey had already taken somewhat of an interest, even if it was just to learn for information purposes in polygamy or how our ancestors practiced, this would have been way more complicated, because like I said, I've talked to women where it was their first time hearing of polygamy via me. And of course, their thoughts are the worst. You just want your cake and eat it too. You just want two women. What if I want a man? And all these types of things where they say, well, that's not fair if I can't. And I've never said that you can't do anything. Jamie and Lacey, they both told me that they only want me. They don't want any other man. So they went into this thing saying, hey, Kevin, we just want to be with you. And if you just want to be with us, we're good. And so that was our commitment going into this thing.
So it's not just a lifestyle thing. It has to be a mindset thing. It has to be something that's wrong. You can't just wake up and make somebody be a polygamist. You have it has to be their choice.
Right. And here's the thing, man. I know several men and women who are polygamists, or poly at least, and they don't even know it. Like, I'm talking about men and women alike now, men and women.
Why would you say that?
Well, because they cheat on everybody they're with. You know what I mean? Like, being with one person is very hard to them, regardless of the commitment. And a lot of them don't want to cheat, but they end up breaking their commitments because they really like sex. So they really like pursuing different relationships. And so for them to be in a monogamous relationship, it's hard for them.
I'm not trying to cut you off. So you're saying that, are you saying it's okay to be a polygamist because you want to have sex with multiple people? Or is it okay to be a polygamist because you love the company of women, or you're in love with them and you want to be with them? Because somebody can get it wrong and say, well, since I like sex and I want to have sex with multiple people, I'm just going to go ahead and be a polygamist so I'm able to have sex with multiple people.
Right, of course. So I put it like this. Polygamy is under the umbrella of poly lifestyle. So you have polygamy, polyamory, polygyny, many different types of relationships that fall under poly. So if you put poly at the top, polygamy is under it, but polygamy has a specific meaning attached. A person who is married to two or more partners, that's polygamy. Okay. Polygyny, or I'm sorry, polyamory, which is the umbrella. The main word should be polyamory. And that is a person who is in multiple relationships where it's agreed upon with those people that he or she's in those multiple relationships with. And to be polyamorous, you can be polyamorous because you actually do love spending time, even if that means sex, with other people outside of your partner. So what you would do is, the partner that you have, you would establish with them that it's either going to be an open relationship where it's okay if I pursue sexual activities with other people, or I'll let you know of every person that I do deal with sexually, and I'll make sure I only deal with those few people sexually and not anybody else, if that's okay with you. And if that person accepts, then you're now in a polygynous relationship or a polyamorous relationship. And believe me, the way that looks in our terms is side chick, side dude. A guy tells a girl, I really like you, and she says, look, I really like you too, but I'm married. Now, I still want to deal with you, but we got to keep it on the low. Now, the reason that's not polyamory is because she didn't tell her husband. The same thing with the husband. He'll have a side chick, and she knows he has a wife, but she still wants to deal with him, and they'll hide these relationships for years, never exposing that relationship to their partner. Well, polyamory is simply exposing that relationship to your partner so you don't have to hide and lie to them. I don't like to lie to people, and I don't like to hurt people's feelings. So I didn't want to get in a relationship to where I had to do that. I felt like it started like this because I wanted this sexual encounter where I would be ravaged or a woman would pursue me sexually from the get-go. I didn't want to commit to a relationship. So I would say, if I commit to a relationship and this thing happens, this woman comes on to me now, I'm going to have to say I can't because I'm in a relationship, right? When I know I want to pursue that, but I'm not doing it because I don't want to hurt who I'm in a relationship with. I didn't want to be that. So I said, let's just keep it open. So when I would date, I would say, let's keep an open relationship. I want to still be able to pursue my encounters. And that's why I would say love me like there's no tomorrow. When you're with me, I'm going to give you full undivided attention. I'm not going to be in my phone. We're going to have a good time. But when you leave me and you go back to your city or state where you live, don't be worried about what I'm doing. Okay. Totally escape what you think I'm doing. So you're not haunted with what you think I'm doing, because I'm not going to be telling anybody no because of you. If I tell somebody no, it's because I want to say no, not because of you. You know, but the thing was, I would tell them they can do the same thing. I wouldn't say go back home, be faithful to me while I go out and do what I want to do. I would say if you pursue other people, you can too. And I'll never ask you who you're with, any of that. Now, if we decide to make it official, then I would tell all the females I deal with that I don't want to do that anymore. But if it's not official, I'm going to keep seeing who I see. Like, the thing is, man, that's why I say I date like white people, because a lot of times whenever you're dating, people want to own you, and they want you to only talk to them. They want you to cut off all your friends of the opposite sex. And my thing is, I don't know you that well to be cutting off my friends. Like, the friends I have in my life, they solid people. So you're not about to tell me because you know me 1 month, I should cut off my friends. You crazy. No. Yeah. To ask me that is offensive. Now, they don't even want to leave you alone anyway. So if I have other females, obviously, that I'm dating, we still are friends. We still get along. We still have great conversations. We just have sex too sometimes. And every time we went out, it wasn't about sex. We didn't actually plan sex either time. If sex happens, great. But if it doesn't, okay, cool. It's okay too. But I wanted to continue to date and pursue the women that I was dating, even though I just met this new person. You know what I mean? And so if I get to the point to where I'm serious, I'll tell you. And if you get to the point to where you're serious, you tell me. And if you're serious about me and you tell me, and I don't want to be serious about you, then now you know that I'm not the one. You can go ahead. But if I come to you and say, hey, listen, sweetheart, we've been dating for a little while and I really like you. I want to stop talking to everybody I'm talking to. And I want to ask you, can you do the same so we can be official? If she says, Kevin, I really like you, but I'm not trying to do that right now, then at least I know. You see what I'm saying? But I'm not going to expect that just because we went out that she's supposed to stop talking to every dude she's talking to. That's crazy to me. You know?
Have you seen the side nigga contract?
Yeah, I have. Right. So right. And look, the thing about it, that contract is pretty clean. I don't know who wrote it, but whoever it is, they must have some type of law background.
Yeah. I'm like, who sits down and come up with shit like this?
Right, thanks. You don't spend holidays with me. Don't trip. I spend holidays with my man. You're a side nigga. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't want no part of that. I'm not trying to. I don't want no part of that.
It's gotta be for someone who went through it. It's gotta be for someone who's actually went through it before.
Yeah. Somebody had went through it, and they sat down and say, you know what? I think other people will appreciate it.
Like, I know this side nigga did not invite me over for Thanksgiving. No way, dude. You know I eat Thanksgiving with my husband.
That's crazy. But I understand where you came from, and I'm sure a lot of people enjoy hearing you getting into what you get into now and how you got into it, because a lot of people don't understand that, you know, you have to have went through something and decided for yourself, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it. Because a lot of people just get up and just do something and don't really understand it, and then at the end of the day, it don't go their way and their butt hurt.
True.
And it's not because they ain't. Well, yeah, it is because they ain't understand it. It's because they just jumped into it. So you got Lacey, you got Jamie. No disrespect or anything to you. They're both beautiful women.
Thank you.
You got some beautiful kids.
Thank you.
But let's get into the nitty gritty. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
How does sex life work? Because I'm a man, right? When I have sex, I get tired after that first, initial moment that we did what we did.
Yeah.
But women, they'll be like, well, I want to go again. Let's do it again. Or I haven't came enough. Or they want to come again. How do you deal with that? Being the fact that you with two women.
Well, I try my best to accommodate them the way that they're satisfied. The thing is, they're different. We don't sleep together. They are heterosexual. So am I. So we're not doing any threesomes and stuff like that. What we do is we have a schedule. They sleep with me every other night. Okay, but they also have their own rooms when they're not in the room with me. But when they're with me, that time with them is absolutely private, and whatever they feel that they need to be satisfied, I try to deliver. But again, like I said, they're not the same when it comes to how to satisfy them, or even how often they want sex. And many people have. I've gotten asked this question a lot, but I say that just consider like the last 2 or 3 partners that you've been with. I'm sure your sex with them was pretty much different based on their chemistry and what they like, and also what they can bring out of you. So you might be with a woman who she can't bring out your rough side or your aggressive side, and while she may want it, she can't. But you have another woman who you can actually you feel more comfortable with it showing that side to, or whatever. So it's weird how that happens. It's kind of, people are like chemicals. When we mix with other people, we react in certain ways. Like Mentos and Coca-Cola. It's not anything that any chemical is trying to do, but the reaction itself causes something to happen, something that's organic, I'll say.
Has any of them ever been jealous of the other one, or expressed something like that to you in private?
I would say that.
You don't have to answer this if you don't want.
No, it's no problem.
Also,
no, it's no problem. And again, it's not even a hard question for me to answer, because we're all what we like to call human, and jealousy is a human trait, especially being raised in the matrix of the Western world, where we believe in one man and one woman is supposed to be married, and that's the concept that we've always thought. So we grew up possessing people, man. So absolutely, even though you're a conscious mind, you still have to work out the kinks. And yeah, jealousy is one of them, man. You'll get jealous over sometimes the smallest things, like I'll get jealous over some small things, you know what I mean? And not necessarily over them two or one over the other, but we all experience these type of feelings no matter what. And that goes on in monogamy, just like polygamy, it does, So I think polygamy makes it a little bit easier because you've already accepted that this person loves someone else or is with someone else. Monogamy, the jealousy really will never end, because they don't have to adjust. You're theirs, and if you so much as look at another woman, they have every right to feel jealous.
Yeah.
Same thing with men. If he find out you talking to some other dude or texting some other dude, like, listen, if you've ever been in a relationship with a woman who already has a man, she's going home to that man. So there's only so much jealousy you're going to let out to her. Like, you may feel uncomfortable with it. Like, when you met her, you probably was like, girl, I don't care about that shit. Hey, what your man got to do with me? I got a man. I'm not trying to hear that, see, right? And so
once you start kissing her, y'all doing what y'all doing.
Before you know it, you don't want her to go home to him no more. But at the same time, there's nothing you can do about it, because you knew this getting into it. And so you might go through certain seasons where you express it to her, but she can always remind you knew she had a man. And the same thing with a man to a woman, he can do that.
Is that yes, feelings are there and jealousy does come up, but because they knew what they got into, it's more understandable to them that this is going to happen.
Right. This is an emotion that you're experiencing, and that's fine. You can feel like giving up sometimes, but you don't. So whenever you're doing something like this, you're going to have these type of emotions, but we're thinking about the future. So the goal is, don't be so narrow-minded where we're focused on the moment and how we feel in our emotions at this moment. Let's look 10, 15, 20 years in the future. And I'm gonna give you an example. Let's just take a guy who he works a full-time job and he makes a lot of money, but it's very demanding hourly, as far as the hours he has to put in a week. And he has a child who, say, plays some sport, wrestles or something like that. And so while the child wants the father to be there for his engagements, and the mother does too, the father may not be able to, And now he's going to be looked at like a bad parent because he wasn't there. But he's an excellent parent and provider because he's doing something to take care of the child's future. And while he wants to be at the game, he just can't. And so what you do is you record the game, right? You try to make as many games as you can. But what you should do is explain to your child, hey, listen, I want to go to your games just like your mother, but I have to provide a future for you. And then you have an understanding for it, you know? Instead of saying my daddy never showed up to my games, he was a horrible man, but he left you a business to take over. When you were 20 years old, you took over his hardware store and never had to walk for anything. So you're mad at him because he didn't come to your game. You're thinking too narrow-minded. You know, you got to open your mind up a little bit.
See, that might resonate more to a lot of people because in this society, there's nothing wrong with it, but us men we're looked at as the provider, right? At the head of the household. So we're expected to work 2-3 jobs to get things done, right? If you don't have that one job that's just overcompensating for everything that the family needs, you have to work 2-3 jobs to get things done. So then that limits the amount of time that you can spend with your kids or your family, right? So then you have this child or kids growing up with you missing soccer games, basketball, football games, and things like that. And if you're in a family and you have a wife or a woman that's like, oh, boy, your dad is not here because he's doing this and doing that, and you also are talking to the child and explaining to them what's going on, they will understand. But then if you flip the script and you're not in that family anymore, but you still have a child with that woman, right? But you're not there all the time because also you're still working hard, trying to make sure that you're able to provide for that child, right?
Absolutely.
But you have a woman who's like, well, you know, you're not with her anymore, so you feel bad about that, and then she don't like you because of that, and she's telling the child, oh, well, your dad's not here because you don't want to be here, and this and that. It creates a negative view towards you for that child. So when you look at it from both sides, it's bad, right?
Right. And
so, go ahead.
I was going to say one of the things that makes it worse for me, at least from my perspective, is if he's working a job, then and he's not there as often as he'd like to be, or as the mother and the child would like him to be, he's looked at as if he needs to step it up as a parent. But if he's in the military and, you know, he's off fighting for some other man's goals and dreams, like that's what our soldiers go fight for. They're not fighting for our true freedom. They're stealing someone else's oil. You know, they're over there killing people for stupid reasons like land and territory. And so if your husband's over there for 6-7 months, 2 years in war, and he comes back, he's a hero, you know, when really he's not. He believes he is. He believes he fought for an honest reason, but you fought for someone else to gain something from some other that's not theirs. It's not theirs, and they've sent you into another country to conquer, you know. So it's almost like Christopher Columbus's children still being in Europe and being happy and saying Columbus is a hero because he's out getting them land and territory, but really he's out colonizing and raping, you know. So we hold these type of things in high regard when they shouldn't be.
Somebody else. This is a lot. I never been through what you've been through. I don't live the lifestyle that you live. And like I told a lot of people that was sending me questions and trying to figure out what's going on, is that we have to talk to you to get your view of the situation. And then even if you don't understand it, at the end of the day, you always have to show respect that, hey, you do what you do over there, and I'm going to do what I do over here.
Absolutely.
And that's how I look at it. So you're in this big old happy family. You got 2 women more blessed than you, my guy. You got beautiful kids. You have a grandchild now. You worldwide, you know. What's the next step? Are you focused on persuading people to see the way you see things, or you just want them to look at the broad view of life?
I'm trying to convince and give people the mental strength to see things the way they see things, not through the eyes of how we were taught to see things. So it's like being truly conscious is being aware of the world around you, not being aware of the world that someone else has projected to you. And every one of us have a perspective. So the last thing I want anyone to do is just adopt my perspective. I'd rather them look at life and how things are done and ask themselves honestly, what does it mean for them? I ask questions like that really force people to think. And I'll humor you. I'll ask like a question like, if you had the ability to create your own world and with different races of people in it, right? What color would you be? Now, before you answer the question, you don't get to decide which race is at the top, right? Which race is at the bottom. Now, there's going to be a social structure just like the world we live in now. What color would you be? And then they stop and think, I don't know what color I would be, because what they care about is how they're treated in this world that they're so-called going to go live in, after they create this world. But it's easy to adopt pride and say, I'd be black, of course. But what if being black meant you were at the bottom of the social scale again, even in this world you created? So I try to force people to think, man, and look at the world for what it is and say, if you went to another planet and you landed on a planet a lot like this one, there were aliens of different colors, different shots, sizes, shapes, and heights, and they judged each other based on that. And none of them have a choice over their height, their size, or their race, yet they judge each other as if their characteristics are known due to this size, shape, and weight and race. How would that look to you? They will say they would look stupid. Well, if they would look stupid, don't you think we do? We say we don't want to believe in racism. You have white people deny racism, but it's like discrimination exists. We don't just judge people for being white and black. We judge you for being short, fat, skinny, ugly, pretty. There are people out here who have all the skill sets to be successful, but they're not pretty or good looking according to our standard. So they get kicked to the wayside. A woman will get told she can't have the job because the guy hiring her would like to hire someone with bigger breasts. And he may go hire someone with bigger breasts, and she's actually not as qualified. You've worked before, I'm sure. Have you not noticed that sexual harassment is really just if she like you or not? Think about it. If a guy can tell her,
they would see a woman who just looks good, like she's beautiful, waist, butt, everything. But once they realize that woman doesn't like them the way they like that woman, then they have an issue with why she looks that good.
Or even, look, even the woman though, brother, check this out. A woman walks by at work. I say to her, hey, you look really good in those pants, Sheila. They hugging you now, right? She laughs. Now let some dude say something to her that's not even nearly as much. And because she don't like him, it's sexual harassment.
That's true.
And he fired now. Like he's literally fired. Like
you get away with it because you look good and they like you.
Right, they like you can get away with it, So it's not like women walking around with this standard on how they want to be talked to. They want to be talked to a certain way if they like you, right? If they think you're cute. But if they don't think you cute, man, you better shut up. Don't say a word. Don't say a word. And that is discrimination. That is unfair. The guy before told you that you look good in them jeans that was hugging your butt. The next guy said, you look really nice today, Sheila. And all of a sudden you didn't want to hear it, right? It's like, it's crazy.
It's crazy, but it's true.
It is.
And that's the world that we live in. And that's why I always say, if you don't understand somebody or you don't understand their lifestyle, just be careful what you say to them, because it can get you a lot of trouble, or it can go the right way for you.
And it's actually nothing to do with you, but that person. So you can be looked at as a bad person for saying, hey, you look pretty today, Sheila. Why did Kevin get fired? Sexual harassment. What did he do? Grab a butt or something? No, he complimented her and she didn't like it and she reported him. But they're gonna Phil complimented her all the time. He'd be all over her. I saw him touching her in the break room. She didn't do nothing. Well, she likes Phil. And now Kevin don't have a job because she didn't like Kevin. You see, but here's the thing though, because that's a fact, it's on the flip side now too, where a woman can be sophisticated and she's good looking, but now it's assumed that she had sex to get her job, you know? And even when I was in sales, people on the sales floor would say, I use my looks to get sales. And I'm like, dude, nobody bought a couch because they thought I looked good. Stop lying to yourself. But in actuality, when you look at customer surveys, they say they would rather have a good looking, well-kept salesperson, woman or man. They don't want to talk to somebody whose breath stinks, who ain't shaved, and who don't take care of themselves. So you may actually get sales because you look good, but that's not your fault. That's on the person who's buying from you, you know? So it's on the receiver's end. Like they say, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. The rose don't smell good to itself. You smell the rose, and your observance of the rose is that it's beautiful or that it smells good. But the rose itself is not saying, man, I smell good today. You know, so I say, don't get conceited. If people find you attractive, think like that rose. I'm going to continue to allow beauty to be in the eye of the beholder. And so if they judge me and say I'm ugly, I'm also not going to let that bother me, because I teach that ugliness does not exist. You are your ancestors. Your face is a collage of every person that came before you. And the fact that we deem your facial features as ugly is sad to me, because you could have your grandfather's nose, and your grandfather could have done some amazing things in this world, but you don't want your grandfather's nose because someone told you it was big. And that's sad that we have to think like that. You know what I mean? So that type of thinking can be very derogatory when you think about it. You know what I mean? So you don't see another, you know, other animals don't think and look like this. Dogs can get along with other dogs regardless of what color they are. You know, humans declare to be the apex of intelligence, but we do some of the dumbest things. Like we literally do. We can take more from someone if we think they're attractive. You know, if a girl like, and listen, man, I got friends who will say it. If a girl got a flat butt, they ain't got no patience for her. You know, so it's like, but if she got a big butt, she can do anything and get away with it. But if she got a flat butt, girl, you can't even make a mistake. Like, you see what I'm saying? And this is messed up. This is wrong, man.
Look, I guess you can put me in that category. I'm a butt sucker guy. If you got a big booty on you, oh my God.
I'm a butt man too, but everybody deserves respect, man.
I don't want to know what happened before. I don't know what happened years ago. I'm focused on your butt right now. So I guess you can put me in that category. But you're right, though. There's something wrong with that. And I don't see it because I'm so stuck up and focused in my ways.
Right.
But you're right. You're right. People do take certain things and be like, hey, man, look, she got a butt. She can do whatever she want to do, and it's cool with
she
me.
She can get away with murder, man.
That's messed up. That's real messed up.
It's totally wrong, bro. Like, you know, but listen, I do these type of thought talks where I say it takes more than a big ass to be a great mother. So it's like I try to tell guys, like, if you keep chasing her for her body parts and you end up with a woman who doesn't raise your children properly, you kind of ask for that because you went into it saying, okay, I like her. And dudes think like this. Listen, bro, as a man, tell me you haven't been around guys and we see a beautiful woman walk by and we say, oh, I nut in her. I get her pregnant. I'll marry her. Like, wait, you'll marry her because she has a body? Dude, you don't even know this girl. 4
kids, bro.
Right.
Like 10 kids, and you're like, bro, you don't even know her.
Right. And a fat ass don't make you a good mother. And I even tell women, you know, a large penis don't make him a good father. So if you're looking for these body parts and stuff and saying this is what I want to be with in life, you probably need to be focused more on the mental aspect of a person. But at the same time, I'm not saying do away with what you like in a person physically, because that also matters. You know, if you're not laying next to somebody you're attracted to, that can be a problem for you too. So just don't chase somebody solely because of a body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever been to Texas?
Yeah, plenty of times.
Doing spoken words and things like that?
Yes, sir. Doing speaking engagements and stuff.
Okay. I'm African. I'm Liberian. The way I was raised, my dad, he had multiple wives, multiple kids. Some of them I don't even know them. So I'm open to, you know, things like that. But growing up in America, what I was shown is that you have one woman and you have this family that you were with, and you raised them, and you do what you do. So when I seen you and people was bombarding me with questions and pictures and stuff like that to try to get you on the show, I was like, yeah, I'm open to talking to anybody, so I'm gonna talk to the dude. Your story is very interesting, man, and you're right. A lot of dudes do think like that, but they're not open to it, so they end up cheating, and they don't know that their significant other might be open to it, but just because they don't share that with them, they will never know.
Absolutely.
I hope your story helps them, open up if they want to. Like I said, I'm not here to persuade anybody. Everybody has a mind of their own. What would you say to those people who wants to do it, but they're not sure or they're scared? What's the first step that they should take?
I would say look into it, okay? So you can see it on a more a logical level. And get that idea out of your mind that it's all about sex, because that's the first place the mind goes to. And then secondly, find you somewhat of a model, someone that's in a relationship like this, that you can kind of look and take some things from. And if you don't like it, leave those things out of it. But that's kind of the problem with polyamory or polygamy, is that we didn't grow up having any role models who lived this lifestyle. We all can tell you some guy who was married or some woman who was married, but my lifestyle is so shocking to people because they've never saw it. You know what I mean? So
it's not widespread.
Right. If we have other couples that we can kind of, take thoughts, take ideas from and things like that on how they make it work, maybe we can have a better understanding of how to make a poly lifestyle work and kind of what they go through. So you can realize that they're human too. They're going to experience jealousy. They're going to experience anything that any other human experiences, just like I mentioned, monogamy is the same. You'll have couples who hold each other accountable to how they treat each other, but not how they go out in life and try to achieve their goals. So let's just say, for example, a woman may tell her man, hey, you don't take me out like you used to, but she's never held him accountable to starting that business he said he was going to start. A man will do the same thing. He'll hold his wife accountable to something with dealing with the personal relationship between them two, but he won't hold her accountable to doing the things she said she was going to do to make her life better. Well, what I wanted from my relationship is that we all hold each other accountable. So what I do is when I realize that I'm falling short in some way, if I say, man, I feel short, I could have made this much money last month, but I didn't do these things. I say it out loud because I know they're going to hold me accountable. If I say it in my head, I may not do anything with it. It may just be a fleeting thought. It's kind of like if you tell yourself in your head, I'm going to start working out tomorrow. You may not do it, but if you tell 2 or 3 people and you believe they'll now look at you and I thought you said you was going to work out, you might hold yourself accountable. At least they can hold you accountable. So yeah, I believe that we should hold each other accountable to our future more so than we do our personal relationship with that person, because people go through things where they're just not feeling very romantic or they're not feeling very sexual. I've gone through it myself where I just wasn't in the mood for sex. It didn't mean I don't like the person I'm with. It just means I'm not in the mood for sex at all. You know what I mean? We're not wanting sex because we're wanting it. We have hormones and these things tell us we want sex. So we're really just along for the ride. Puberty kicks in, then you start liking girls and you start wanting sex. But when you were 3 and 4 years old, it was no girls allowed. You didn't need, your body tells you these things. It's not something that you're choosing. You don't say, well, I want to be horny in the next 5 minutes, and it just happens. We have testosterone. This is what causes this stuff.
The body is a strange thing, and a lot of people don't understand it. Me being in the medical field for a while, helped me understand that a lot of things that we do, it's based off feelings, and the way we act is based off reaction towards something that we experience. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't know that. But me being in the medical field helped me understand that a lot. Your kids, right? Mm-hmm. Most of them are big enough now where you can talk to them, and you told me you already do talk to them like they're grown. Absolutely. And I like that because I do the same thing with my son. Would you advise them, or do you do that now? how to live their life or how to approach relationships in your direction, or as the general public sees it?
No, as they'll see it. Like my son says that he feels like he's monogamous, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Actually, both of my sons, my daughter, she's kind of the same way. They see it as, they say, hey, I just want one person. That's fine, So I don't mind that at all. My thing is, I have conversations with them on getting to know the person that they're dealing with. Because people can show certain parts of themselves 2 years from down the road that you didn't know was in them. And what we like to say is that when you meet somebody, you meet their representative, they're hiding who they truly are. Sometimes that's the case. Likely a lot of times that's the case, but many of us have traumas and things in us that we don't even know are there. So I'm a very quiet natured person, but I have dated women who brought me to yelling, like raising my voice. And I don't typically do that, but I have had encounters where I've been pressed so much my voice escalated, and they say, you yelling at me, and I'm like, I don't mean to yell at you, I'm just passionate, you know what I mean? So it's not that I mean to yell, it's just that whatever's happening right now is causing me to yell. I call that toxicity. And I'll leave relationships if a woman can make me yell or bring the worst out of me, or even a guy, like I gotta leave that area. Like I've seen women cause guys to hit them that would never hit a woman. They'd be like, your mama a bitch, you a bitch, and all this stuff. And all of a sudden now he's hitting her. And we say he's a woman beater, but really he is now, because by default definition, but she brought that out of him. He wouldn't typically do that. So I ask my children all the time, do you itch before you scratch or after? And they say, I itch before I scratch. Absolutely. And that's how you respond in the world. Things happen. You respond. You walk outside, you feel that it's cold, you put another coat on or another jacket on, but you don't have to tell your body, hey, tell me what temperature it is. When I open my eyes, I don't tell my eyes to see. They just do. They just do. Like our bodies are absolutely amazing. If I cut myself, I'm just gonna heal. I don't have to think about it. When I get afraid, my adrenaline's just gonna rush. I'm not saying go gadget adrenaline. It just happens, and now I can run faster, move faster and stuff, and not feel pain while my adrenaline is rushing. But I didn't choose to make that happen. I'm along for the ride. You know what I mean? So try to understand your body whenever things like this happen. If you feel angry enough to fight, ask yourself, why am I angry enough to fight? What did this person say to me? Why am I so triggered? Is it because I'm already having a bad day? Is it because one day, if you wake up on the right side of the bed, so to speak, someone can come up and insult you and you'll just say, I love you, right? But then let's say you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and someone says the same exact thing to you. You might cuss that person slam out. Now, to that person, you're mean all the time, but they don't know you. They only tried you when you was emotionally feeling something. So now because you emotionally upset or emotionally distressed, you responded differently. Now they're all you, and we like to escape that and not take responsibility. We'll get short or be mean with someone, and we'll say, "Hey, that's not me. I was just hungry. That's not me. I was just sleepy." Oh, it was you. It was you when you're hungry. It was you when you're sleepy. Don't negate responsibility. Take responsibility for your actions, because they were still your actions, and learn to do better. You know what I mean? But we don't always handle things in the best way, but that's not always how we handle things, right?
Right. My last episode that I had, I was talking about mental illness and how African Americans would deal with their kids being diagnosed or being told that, hey, something is wrong with the child, and how they approach it and things like that. And then I kind of got into a little detail about how, like I said, me being in the medical field really introduced me to medications and pills, how they react in the body, and how your brain tells you, hey, something is going on with your body, and that's why your body is reacting this way. And you just point to that about saying, do you itch before you scratch? That it's similar. People act a certain way because of something that happens. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And you telling your kids, hey, that's what you want to do, and you don't want to live the way I want to live. That's totally fine with me, and I respect that. You're not trying to force something on them that their body or their mind or lifestyle feel like they don't have to do.
Right.
You understand?
My thing is, if it's damaged into your soul, do not do it. I ask my children one favor. I say, I need you to accept that you have an opportunity to live this life, but I need you to accept that every person to your left and your right has also been afforded this opportunity. Now, because we get, from what we know of, one life, that's what we know of. We get one life. Don't try to keep someone from living their one life that makes them happy, as long as they're not causing intrinsic harm. If they're not harming anybody, respect the life that they want to live. It's their one life. And if we can do that, the world will be a better place.
That's true. That's true. And I wish a lot of people understand that and try to get to know people before they start judging them or their lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin, man, look, I appreciate talking to you. I love the message that you're putting out there. Since I've seen you on Facebook and people were just going crazy about how you're living or what you're doing, I was like, you know what? Let me talk to dude and try to get his side of the story, and maybe I can understand him. And if you don't, just respect what he's doing. Mm-hmm. How can people follow you? Where can they follow you? Because I would love to come to one of your speeches one day and just sit down and see what you have to say. Because I follow you on Instagram and the stories you're saying, especially the one about the lion or the dude teaching the mice how to hunt and turning him into a cat and things like that.
Yes, sir.
I love that. I love the way you told that story, and that right there tells a lot about people trying to get something instead of working for it. And
absolutely,
in this society, we have a lot of that. So please let them know where they can follow you. That way they'll have information when you come to their states, so they can come there and see you and listen to what you got to say, because I feel like you have a lot to teach.
Absolutely. Well, I am a life coach as well. I do counseling sessions and things of that nature. You can book me for things like that, or even book me to speak at your place at www.betheevolution.org. That's www.betheevolution.org. If you want to follow me for my content, you can go to YouTube. That's called Kevin Wesley, The Truth Factory. My largest platform is on Facebook. It's Kevin Wesley, Be The Evolution. And of course, Instagram is Kevin Wesley B-E. which stands for Be Evolution. And my motto is to tell everyone to just be.
Because they had a lot of questions that they wanted to present to your significant others, and like I was telling them, this is solely your story. I wanted you to be able to tell how you got into what you are from your side of the story. I don't want there to be, you and two other people just screaming and trying to talk over each other, so I just wanted to talk to you. I told you that we're open, and you said you're also willing to talk to them and let them know if they want to come on here and take questions and explain themselves. We can do that. So we'll have that episode on another day. So please don't be mad at me. This is just about Kevin and how he got into where he was at. So follow him. What he said, follow him at. And if you have more questions, I can always bring the dude back on and we can talk. But I appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming on. And I hope to see you in person one day so we can exchange thoughts, because I relate to you a lot. And I feel like we need more people like you to let people know, hey, you don't have to be stuck in this one mindset. There's more ways to live.
I totally agree, Doc. And it was an absolute pleasure speaking with you, having this dialogue with you. It was fun, and I would like to meet you as well, man. So we definitely gonna make that happen. And I'm open to doing another interview too with my queens as well, if you'd like to set something like that up. So just let me know.
Yeah, of course, we can do that. We can. I want to talk to them solely, both of them together, and then we'll probably have another segment where we'll have all three of y'all together.
Okay.
So I'll keep in touch with you, and we can do that. Again, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on here. And have a wonderful day, and just extend my greetings to your family.
I sure will. You do the same, Doc.
All right, man. Take care.
Peace. Woo! All right, family. Look, I would stay on longer, but I do have another interview to do. So thank you guys for checking it out, man. For real. I want to read some of your comments. See, YSN Dren says, hey, Kevin, I just want to let you know that your videos are the only thing keeping me sane at work, and I appreciate it. I am honored. I'm much gratitude. Thank you for following the content. Thank you for supporting it. Believe me, you guys make me as happy as you guys are to hear it. It makes me happy that you guys will listen. You know what I mean? So I never go a day without being gracious or without showing gratitude to the universe for having a voice that people do even care to listen to. So absolutely. Guys, I appreciate you guys listening. Again, I do miss you guys. And someone asked me, where have I been? Why haven't I been on in a long time? But I have. You guys don't follow me on Facebook. If you follow me on Facebook, I drop content all the time. But I am going to start back going live on YouTube and doing conversations and builds and stuff with you guys. So I am going to do that, guys. I do miss you guys so much, and I can tell I ain't been on here in so long because it's only 50 people watching. Normally it's several hundred people. So I can tell now that something's happened. Maybe the notifications ain't being sent out the same, or maybe people are at work or busy right now. But man, I miss you guys. I really do. So I am going to get back to going live with you guys. All right. I look forward to seeing all of you guys soon. Thank you guys for coming in and enjoying this experience with me. Again, it was just going to be a radio conversation, and I wanted to give you guys the video and the live, and so you guys could see it yourselves and go from there. So you guys have it now. I have done my duty. All right. I love you all. Okay. Be evolution. Be the change that you want to see. No candle loses its flame from lighting another. And if you were to ever find yourself in the middle of chaos, it is in that chaos that you will find yourself. Now, excuse me, family. Let me go be with my family now. I miss them. And I have another interview later today, and got to get prepared for that one too. So I'll see you guys soon. All right. And look forward to me coming up. So if you guys are not already subscribed, if you haven't already clicked that bell so you can get all the notifications, do that now, because I want you guys to be able to see when I go live and see when I post another video. Okay. And that's all. See you guys soon. Peace.